Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto doesn't forgive Kushina and Minato for what they did to him. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Iruka Yamino stood nervously in front of his village leader, the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, with slight trepidation. He was promoted to the rank of Chunin in 5 years and applied to be an instructor in the academy where he has been working for 2 years since then. So when he's called by his village leader about academy, he's slightly worried. He felt the piercing stare of the 4th from his kneeling position and wondered why is he summoned. Normally the matters of academy were usually dealt by the entirety of village council, with heads of clans and important merchants of civilians, also known as the civilian council. Only when the students are divided into teams the homeroom teacher was called along with jounins to give an insight into the minds of their might-be students, and it has been 2 weeks since the team formations were decided, with 2/5 of the passing students kept in reserves. The details of the failed students along with new students who will graduate this year were him just a few days ago, as he's the homeroom teacher for the class that will graduate this year. Iruka-kun, the blonde Kage, spoke calmly. Please be at ease. I hope that you've gone through the file given to you about the graduation class. The scarred man simply nodded his head. This year's graduating class has 9 heirs of their respective clans, with one of the clan members who is the second daughter of the head of Uchiha clan, with Hokage's eldest child, who's also a clan heir in the class. And let's not forget 3 containers of tailed beasts, Biju. Suddenly the reason behind the summons is made clear to the instructor. The Shinobi Council has put a lot of pressure on me to improve the standards of the academy. This is designed by our T&I expert Orochimaru-sama, and it will be the schedule from this year onwards. It isn't like the one during the wartime, but it's enough to shut their complaints. He sighed softly. And thankfully Chunin Mizuki was apprehended for being a traitor, so it quelled their protests. Iruka looked uncomfortable at these words. Mizuki was his best friend and his co-instructor. He was caught passing an important document to a ninja from Rain Village and was sent to T&I. A mind walk was done by Inoichi Yamanaka, which showed his sabotage in the academy. He also passed many important info about the village security systems for exchange of money, and if the document he almost have given to the Rain Shinobi would have costly few business deals if it was leaked to Grass, Kusa and Waterfall, Taki countries, and if it is leaked to other Great 5, it might lead to another war. Thankfully they managed to retrieve it safely. Iruka cleared his thoughts and took the file given to him and went through it carefully. There was less emphasis on history and more on tactics and strategies. The physical part was raised to meet war standards and ninjutsu portion, along with Academy 3, the students are to learn at least 2 C-rank jutsu of their choice to pass. This remained the same. Iruka stopped when Minato cleared his throat to get his attention. Sorry, Hokage-sama. He said. Minato took a deep breath and asked, how's Naruto doing? Naruto. One of the sore topics for Hokage-sama and his family, at least for Kushina-sama and Minato-sama. Firstborn of triplets and Minato's eldest child and easily the most hated child in Konohagakure no Sado. Unknowingly neglected by his parents who regretted it since last year and tried to make amends. But it's too late and the child wanted nothing to do with him. Iruka to this date remembered the first time he met Naruto. Iruka was overjoyed when he read the letter given to him by Hiruzen-sama. He was selected as a teacher in Konoha Shinobi Academy last year and was appointed as the homeroom teacher in just 1 year. Usually anyone has to serve at least 2 years before they were given his position, and to his happy mood, his friend Mizuki was selected as an assistant teacher this year. Mizuki helped him in his exams last year, but for some reason he isn't selected. Iruka was surprised because without Mizuki's help he wouldn't be past the selection exam. Orphaned during Kyuubi's attack on Konoha 9 years ago, Iruka became a prankster to ward off his loneliness. He was regarded as the class clown and was mocked by his peers. He laughed off their jeers, but inwardly sought for their attention. Hiruzen-sama found him one day sitting on the mountain after one of his pranks. Iruka never knew why, but the 3rd always had a soft spot for him. He usually never said anything but listened to his ramblings patiently. It soon became a tradition till he passed and was put on Genin team. Whenever he closed his eyes he saw his mother's love smile and good father's proud face as he was dragged away by the Anbu on that fateful day. Iruka never understood why his parents have laid their lives and once asked Hiruzen about it. It doesn't matter what you do if you live and die as you like. However, no matter what road you end up taking, remember to protect the people that are precious to you. These words, Iruka-kun, are taught to me by my sensei, Senju Hashirama, who is our first Hokage. This is called as the Hai no Ishi, which every Konoha shinobi puts their will on. Hiruzen-sama spoke calmly. You, Iruka-kun, are your parents' most precious treasure. They died on that day so that you may live happily and risk their lives to keep you safe. On that day those words are ingrained in his mind. With a desire to pass on that will to future generation, he decided to become a teacher. His cheer lasted until he saw the list of students assigned to him. He sincerely had no problem with any of them, except for a lone child. The name itself invoked a lot of bitterness with small amount of hatred. Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. The photo showed a boy with mask covering lower half of his face. His gravity-defying blonde hair covered the right eye, which could be seen if one looked close enough. The only part clearly visible is his ocean blue left eye. He was well known in entirety of Konoha as the demon child. When Minato-sama fought the beast, who had left him as an orphan, he sealed the yin portion of its chakra into his daughter Mito and yang portion into his son Menma. The talk was that Hokage-sama took away the beast's chakra and reduced the demon in form of this boy. He was rumored to be thrown out of his home at age of 7, and everyone thought that Hokage-sama finally saw the demon's real nature and got rid of him. Serves it right, Iruka thought bitterly. How did it survive out on streets without dying for 3 years? Were his thoughts on that day. He tried to get Hiruzen change his class to other one, or at least get Naruto transferred to other class. But Hiruzen put his foot down and asked him to give the boy a chance. Not willing to deny the only request the older man has made, he went on with it. The day started normally and without any fuss. Iruka reached the class before 2 hours before schedule and checked the syllabus. Slowly, the class was filled, and by the time bell rang, class was filled with students, except for few who didn't arrive in time. Iruka was pleased to see that the demon wasn't in the class and hoped that the boy chickened out. Good morning everyone. My name is Yumino Iruka and I'm your homeroom teacher. Please introduce yourselves by telling your name and age. He greeted brightly. The timid pink-haired civilian girl with large forehead stood up, might be daughter of Councilman Kizashi, and my name is Haruno Sakura. I turned 8 this March. Please take care of me. She stuttered out nervously. Hello guys. My name's is Yamanaka Ino. I am 8 last year September. Nice to meet you all. Let's be friends. The platinum blonde-haired girl who's clearly Inoichi Yamanaka's daughter chirped brightly. Iruka nodded calmly. Only to lose the calm, and his vein popped when he saw the boy to her right. The blonde girl turned to her right where she saw her sleeping classmate. Shika, she screeched with. Damn, the girl got good pair of lungs, get your lazy ass up and greet our classmates. Troublesome, the pineapple hair-styled boy groaned, should have taken the last bench. Yo, my name is Shikamaru Nara. 8, September 22nd. He promptly fell asleep, ignoring the eye twitch of blonde girl and the teacher and sweat drops of all the remaining students. Iruka heard that the Naras are legendary sloths, but this is pushing it. Hi. My name is Akamichi Choji. The slightly tall and round boy spoke kindly. I'm 8 years old this May. As he's about to sit down, a civilian student behind him poked him, saying faddis, and snickered loudly. The boy's demeanor turned 0 to 180 within seconds. Grabbing the civilian by his collar, he punched him on his nose, knocking out the small civilian. I'm not fat. I'm just big-boned. Just big-boned. He shouted, glaring at the unconscious boy. Iruka scolded him about his behavior and ordered him to stay outside the class for the entire period. Just when Choji left the bench, heavy footsteps are heard from the corridor. The door opened forcibly and 3 children rushed in. Iruka saw that 2 were obviously civilian boys who looked slightly winded. But the third child was one whom he recognized. It's the Kyuubi Gaki. The boy was really short and really thin. He was wearing white t-shirt with spiral design on it with cream-colored coat and cargo pants. Both of them are large for his frame. As in photograph, he wore black mask which covered half of his face and let his gravity-defying blonde hair cover his right eye. Kakashi's childhood hairstyle. All 3 students looked sheepishly at him. Sorry, sensei. We overslept. The civilian student spoke calmly. The blonde didn't even say anything, searching for something carelessly in his bag. Muttering demon quickly and softly, he turned to Choji. Choji-kun, sit down and don't repeat it again. You too, he smiled amiably at the students, can't sit anywhere you like. Turning to the blonde kid, whatever he wanted to say was struck in his mouth. The previously apologetic blonde looked straight into his eyes with no emotion whatsoever. It chilled his spine, but he gathered his courage. You introduce yourself and stand out of the class for the entire day, your punishment for not apologizing. Barely managing to get those words out. Good morning everyone. He spoke in a sharp tone. The occasional murmur disappeared with everyone paying attention to the blonde kid. Iruka noted this, subconsciously straightening his spine. My name is Naruto. I turned 8 last October. Saying this, he slapped a paper on the bench and walked out. Before he stepped out of the class, he looked straight into Iruka's eyes and with cold glare, he spoke one word that only Iruka can hear. Coward. Iruka never felt as much ashamed in his entire life. Picking up the paper, he saw that it is a letter of apology from Ichiraku Tucci that he made boy late because he had to deliver bentos as he's low on manpower. Iruka-kun. The voice of 4th snapped him out of his thoughts. Sorry Hokage-sama, he spoke, bowing down slightly. I was lost in thought. Clearing his throat, he answered the question. Naruto is fine Hokage-sama. He's average in everything except Taijutsu, which is solid Chunin level. Expected, as he usually trains with Mito Guy in his free time. And let's not forget his stealth. Has been in year, but still none of us have found where he lives. Suspected to be a censor and Fuinjutsu expert. Usually skips classes and detentions, doesn't take anything seriously, class clown and plays pranks. No friends at all, keeps to himself, just works enough to pass. Indifferent to the entirety of Konoha except for really few members. He replied calmly. Really can't blame the kid, but I can say for certain of not for those really few ones he would have left Konoha several years ago. He loves children, Hokage-sama. Not to overstep my bounds in your family, only Natsumi has any chance of connecting with Naruto. Minato simply nodded to the Iruka's explanation. After dismissing the poor man, Minato sighed before looking at the picture of his family that he always had in his desk. Now normally this picture would always bring a smile to the powerful shinobi, but this time it did nothing but to bring even more shame and sadness to him. The reason for that was because in this particular picture you could see both him and his wife happily smiling, while in front of them were Menma, Mito and Natsumi, the three of them showing different amount of happiness. It was taken the day that both Menma and Mito started the academy. Since in year it mocked him, showing his greatest failure. Naruto wasn't in it. What in Kami's name had made him ignore his son to the point of Naruto denying him as his father? What has gotten into his mind? How could he have done something like that? What kind of father was he? Those were the thoughts that plagued the Hokage's mind right now, showing that like his wife, he was deeply ashamed of his action towards the eldest of his triplets. And how could he not be? His children were his pride and joy, and yet he had mistreated one of them to the point of him not wanting anything to do with his family. His family was completely torn apart. Kushina lost weight over a year and was a complete mess. Menma and Moto wanted to tear Naruto apart for making Kushina that way. They were not in the office when Naruto spoke to them last time, but seeing both their faces was enough for them. Natsumi never left Kushina's side and he's thankful for that. Hell, he himself encouraged suicidal thoughts from time to time. It all started with Orochimaru-sama's visit year and a half ago. "We need to talk," were the first words that the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, heard after opening the door of his house and seeing that the person who decided to visit him this late at night was none other than Orochimaru, one of the three legendary Densetsu no Sannin, three great ninjas. "Talk about what, Orochimaru? Did something happen?" asked the blonde Hokage, his completely attention in the snake summoner. After all, it was really weird if not unheard of for Orochimaru to actually come to this house. After all, he normally reported whatever he had to report in the Hokage's office, never here. "I guess you could say that. May I come in?" "I believe is better if we have this conversation in private," said the black-haired ninja, his normal creepy smile completely gone since his face was one of seriousness, which made both Minato and Kushina, who was standing a little behind her husband, look at the snake summoner funny. "Sure," was the only thing Minato said before he led Orochimaru to the living room of the house, in which Orochimaru took a seat in one of the chair that was around a coffee table, while the hero of the third shinobi war sat in the nearby couch. "Would you like some tea, Orochimaru-san?" asked Kushina, speaking for the first time since Orochimaru entered her house, but her question just got a little shook of the man head. "That won't be necessary, but I would appreciate if you could stay to hear what I have to tell. After all, it concerns the both of you," answered Orochimaru swiftly, his attention focused in both the Hokage and his wife. He wondered exactly how they were going to react to what he was going to say, but if his own assumption were correct, then this was going to be one interesting conversation. This declaration brought look of suspicion from both Minato and Kushina, but neither of them said anything. The red-headed Jounin sat alongside her husband in the sofa, expecting to hear whatever was the news that Orochimaru so urgently had to share with him. "So, what is the problem, Orochimaru?" "It's about the assignment I appointed you about the academy," asked Minato, considering the different thing that could have bring the snake summoner here, since he has never done so in the past. To those that knew Orochimaru, they could tell you that the man had a little sadistic side inside of him that complemented a little bit his thirst for knowledge, so for those people, it was not surprised that said man was none other than the head of the torture and interrogation division of Konoha, but it was only the Hokage, his wife and a few number of people that knew that Orochimaru was given the task of observing the students that entered the academy and their progress in it. The reason for giving Orochimaru was simple since, in Minato's opinion, Orochimaru was one of the person that knew more about human psychology in the whole village, something that made him really effective in his job at the T&I division. So Minato assigned Orochimaru the task of observing the development of the student of the academy, so that he could not only form the most effective teams by the time the student graduated, but so that Orochimaru could find out which student were better suited for some specialized task, like the healer squad Tsunade made. It was after a year of Orochimaru having that job that he made the recommendation to Minato of changing how the team system worked, so that, instead of having teams with 3 Genins and 1 Jounin, Konoha would have teams made of 4 Genins and 2 Jounins. While some of the member of the council complained about how that system would use too many of the jonin that the village had, Minato still went with it since he had no reason to doubt Orochimaru at all, and he was glad he did. After all, the system worked even better than the old one, since this new one allowed not only for the jonin to focus more on their genin and allow them to teach them a bigger variety of things, but it also improved the survival rate of teams. Yes, it is. I'm not going to lose anyone's time here, so I'll go straight to the matter at hand. Minato, how good is your relationship with your son? Asked Orochimaru to both Minato and Kushina, making one of them look at him with a frown, while the other had a preoccupied expression on her face. Why are you asking this? Did something happen to Menma-kun? Asked Kushina, obviously worried about anything that could have happened to her son, but she was even more worried because if something did happen, then her son had not told neither her of his father. Calm down, Kushina, nothing happened to Menma-kun at all. He's actually in the top of his class, although he could do better in the written part if you ask me, said Orochimaru, making both parents sigh in relief, although the black-haired snake summoner was now even more preoccupied. After all, it did not escape his attention, the fact that they only asked for one of their sons. Why are you asking then? Asked Minato, confusion obvious in his face and voice. I think you misunderstood a little bit there, so let me be more specific this time. How good is your relationship with your son Naruto-kun? And just there Orochimaru saw a reaction that made all his suspicion even more of a reality, which made him release a mental sigh since this just made everything harder. As soon as Orochimaru asked his question, both Minato and Kushina just looked at him with an unreadable expression, just before their eyes widened until they were like plates, then the both of them just looked at each other with the same expression. All of this just made Orochimaru to raise a brow in interest. Meanwhile, the young user of the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, pondered the question in his mind, and he really did not like the answer he was getting. After all, it even took him a couple of seconds to actually remember that he had another son besides Menma, and even tough he was trying really hard to remember any memory with his first son, he could not actually do it. Like he had completely forgotten about him, and that feeling was something that made Minato panic a little bit. How could he forget his own son? Kushina's thoughts were even more wild than her husband, but just like him, she could not remember any moment with her son. Even tough, she thought hard about important moments like birthdays, training days and their first day at the academy. She just could not picture him in any of those, like if he never was there, which was something that made Kushina's heart to twist in pain. How was it possible to not have any memories with one of her sons? There was no way she could have neglected him like that. Right. Both the Hokage and her wife's attention were taken out of their thoughts by a cough from Orochimaru, who knew enough about human conduct to figure out the answer to his question just by looking at them. I'm going to guess that it's not good, isn't it? Well, that explains a part of the problem, said Orochimaru, and even though the last part was said in low voice, his was loud enough for both Minato and Kushina to hear it. What are you talking about, Orochimaru? Did something happen to Naruto-kun at the academy? Almost yelled Kushina after standing up, her expression one of panic and fear. After all, if something did happen to her son at the academy, like him having to repeat a year of it just because neither her or her husband helped him when they should, she would not be able to forgive herself. Minato stood up and put a hand over his wife's shoulder, trying to calm her down, but Orochimaru could easily see that the fourth fire shadow too was concerned about his son. He just was better at controlling his emotions, something that Orochimaru actually respected from this man. Orochimaru then took out 2 files which was hidden in his coat and gave it to both the parents. Please take a look over them and tell me if you found any oddities. Both cage-level shinobis looked over the files given to them and frowned. Except that he's average in everything except Taijutsu alone with stealth, there's nothing odd here, Orochimaru. And that he skips class regularly, Kushina replied, while Minato nodded along with her. The snake Sanin pinched his nose in irritation. Taking both the files, he instead of going each individual testing, he showed all tests under same criteria. They are dumbfounded. Now if you see clearly, Kushina, all scores for his Taijutsu is 94, all scores for ninjutsu is 60, same for Jinjutsu and Shuriken Jutsu, with both of them 54 and 56 respectively. All the written tests are likewise exactly half correct and half wrong. Now I can understand that happening sometimes, but the fact is that in the 2 years Naruto-kun has been in the academy, he has always got the same points in every written exam, almost like he did this on purpose, said Orochimaru, seeing how Minato's frown became bigger and how Kushina's attention went from the floor to himself. You might have been wondering why I have problem with your eldest son. I'll tell you why. I have already completed first 3 years academy students assessment 3 months ago. I was supposed to start the assessment of potential genins when I saw an unusual spectacle. You know Naruto-kun loves to play pranks and everyone knows it's him but can't prove anything, right? Seeing them nod, he continued. 3 months ago I sent a shadow clone to the academy to oversee the classes and went to the market to buy supplies for my latest experiment. Orochimaru looked over his lab, sighing calmly. His latest experiment was to produce a chakra pill which can be used up to 4 times per day for an average chunin. The present ones shouldn't be taken more than 2 times unless he wanted to die. He constructed a theory which might work, but in practice different results might occur. He walked to and fro frustrated in his personal office. Its little room that had nothing but a wooden desk with a chair, some bookcase filled with them, and it was illuminated by some torches. This place could be found and his secret lab that only he, the Hokage and other few peoples like his teammates knew about. This was the place in which Orochimaru would normally do his experiments. Of course he could not use any test subject for those experiments unless they were prisoners or any other person that the Hokage approved, and even that only happened once Orochimaru was more than sure that the procedure would not kill the patient. He would have to express his gratitude to his busty teammate one of these days. After all, she really helped in improving the surviving expectation of the patients. But today he has to go to check on the potential Genins in Academy and he's low on supplies. Creating a shadow clone, he sent it to the Academy. He left to restock his supplies. Getting everything he required, he's prepared to get back to the sanctity of his office when he heard a loud commotion. Turning to the source, he saw a squad of Anbu whose leader was barking orders to his team. Not unusual unless you count each and every one of them are wearing tight spandex Guy was so fond of wearing, except they are in sparkling rainbow colors. And each of their masks are weird design, obscene, painted on them. The Anbu are looking highly agitated and having no immediate work. He approached them. Anbu Squad Delta. May I know why the hell is your team dressed like that? He asked, amused at their precardiment. Greetings, Orochimaru-sama. The squad leader greeted him in a low baritone voice. Someone infiltrated Anbu yesterday and changed our clothes. And put permanent glue on our masks. The clothes are lined with few seals which made them look like our normal Anbu unit. But on using them, they changed into this. We found chakra trail of the culprit in this place few minutes ago. He or she might have noticed us coming, so that chakra has completely disappeared. Yugao, the cat Anbu spoke. Then why on earth haven't you guys used the henge jutsu? Orochimaru questioned. Being an expert in human psychology, he could see each of the Anbu are highly embarrassed. We would have Orochimaru-sama. But Air Lizard started. But he pressed on. The Anbu squad took him to the closest alley. Looking at the operatives Lizard and Cat, Boar ordered, get on with it. Why don't you do it, boss? Lizard whined as Cat nodded in agreement. I'm the leader of the squad and you are the rookie. And Cat, you're the only female in the squad. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow in amusement. Anbu are said to be the best of the best. They are trained to bear any humiliation, embarrassment, torture and discomfort thoroughly. To them to behave this way it should be really embarrassing. Henge. They shouted in unison. When the smoke cleared, Orochimaru's jaw dropped and he tried to stop a heavy nosebleed which threatened to knock him out. Orochimaru knew that even as a rookie Lizard is an intimidating man. Reaching 6 feet in height with heavy dense muscles and a scowling face, he could make an average Chunin pee in fear. But in his place platinum blonde-haired buxom woman is present. She had curves rivaling his teammate with long hair. Best part is that she's totally naked. With one hand covering the other hand on crotch and blushing cheeks, she looked as the poster picture of embarrassed naked female. Jiraiya would have killed to see the sight. Pat, whom he known to be a really beautiful kunoichi with a pleasant smiling woman, now turned into scowling young man with hard dense muscles and short purple hair. Controlling the laughter that have threatened to erupt from his throat, he has reputation to uphold. He told that he would help them in catching the culprit. Most likely he'd some perverse jonin who might be an ex-Anbu who played it. We aren't the only ones who were targeted, Orochimaru-sama. The entire Anbu are targeted and are searching for him. Cat said in a pissed off tone. He let it up. There he is. She shouted suddenly. Orochimaru saw a hooded tall young man and disappeared when he was about to turn towards him. Gathering senjutsu, he locked onto the target and erased his smell, chakra, and made himself invisible. Chasing him discreetly till the man was boxed into place with Anbu approaching him on all sides. He immediately ran up the building and released his henge. Most surprising thing is that he changed the feel of his chakra and walked out none the wiser. If it is Jonin, hell even if it is Chunin who rejected promotion for Takujo, he wouldn't have been surprised. But the brat is not even a genin. He's an academy student. Naruto Namikaze. So to learn his capabilities, I tried to find clues. Before anyone could tamper the evidence, I checked the wall he climbed by wall walking technique. There are really small indents. If not for very faint shoe print traces, I would have missed them. Only a person trained in medical arts have that level of control. Your boy's chakra control at this age rivals Tsunade's when she's 11. He's 9 now, right? Tsunade at 11 can do kunai balancing technique easily and began senbon balancing technique. And his ninjutsu and jinjutsu grades are average. I can't believe it. And here comes the shocker. His chakra pool is higher than in Jonin by miles. Mito and Menma didn't have that much chakra and they have Kyuubi increasing their reserves. They still can't do clone jutsu, so you've taught them shadow clones, right? Both of them nodded. The boy has double chakra pool of yourself children without Kyuubi's chakra. Their eyes widened. I found it on the same day. After dispelling the shadow clone I sent to the academy. I found that he's in class all the day. Participated in Taijutsu matches and everything. So next day I used Senjutsu to feel his presence and it's the same. I thought he overloaded the shadow clone and left it in the class so that it might take heavy damage. But it's not the case, he's using Senjutsu. What the hell are you saying, Orochimaru? Senjutsu is near impossible to learn and you have to have a summon to help you with the absorption along with high Jonin reserves. Kushina shouted. You're saying that a child of 9 autumns learnt it? Have you gone senile? Orochimaru glared at them. Before you shout, listen to me first. I might have slipped up when I watched that kid. He refused to go to his residence. I sure as hell knew isn't this place. After a week he lost it. Want to know what happened on that day? I'm in sage mode and was watching him. Suddenly his presence and chakra completely disappeared. Even in my sage mode I couldn't feel anything from him. If he's not visible to my eyes I would have thought he was not there at all. Only a Senjutsu user can hide from other Senjutsu user. He growled out. From that day it became impossible to trace him. Both the Hokage's and his wife's eyes widened in surprise after hearing that. After all, they both knew that fact. So how was possible that their son, who had yet to have any special training, something that made both parent to feel more ashamed of themselves and knew, didn't let him sign any contract, learn one of the most dangerous and difficult technique like that? So, it was after looking at all of these facts that I decided that, in my opinion, your son is hiding his real abilities at the academy, revealed Orochimaru, surprising both Minato and Kushina once again. What? Why would he do that? Asked a red-headed beauty, wondering why would her son fake his skills in the academy. After all, that was hardly the normal conduct a boy of his age would have. Meanwhile, Minato's thought were a little different. If what Orochimaru was saying is really true, then that meant that his son had been training, since there was no way that he could learn those arts without any source of training. But if that was true, then who trained him? Sure, there was the possibility that he trained alone, but that was highly unlikely, which meant that someone had been helping his son with his ninja training. But the question was who? I can't tell you the exact reason since I'm not him, but I'm going to guess that he just did not wanted anyone knowing his real strength, said Orochimaru before releasing a sigh, knowing that what he was going to say next was going to really upset them both. Considering the information that I have about Naruto-kun, I must say that right now I have no choice but consider him a mid-level flight risk, said Orochimaru, and almost as soon as he did he was hit by 2 powerful killer instincts, courtesy of both Minato and Kushina, whose powerful glare was directed fully at the snake summoner. Are you implying that my son could become a traitor, Orochimaru? Asked Minato, his voice cold and his glare powerful. After all, there was no way he would ever let anyone said something like that to anyone from his family, never. I said mid-level flight risk, Minato. Orochimaru snapped out. We're lucky that he didn't leave Konoha by now. First he hides his true abilities in the academy, abilities that we have no idea from where he got them, since I know you're also thinking that someone must have been teaching him. He's really close to sensei, so there might be a chance he learned from him. His only bonds of importance in the villages now is Hiruzen sensei, Mito Gai, the Ichirikas and few branch members of Hyuga family. Nothing more, nothing less. Here are few of his medical records. Your so-called loving people treated him like shit, and you know funnily there is annual fox hunt. Ignoring the killing intent, he continued. I suppose you understand it. Broken bones, fractured ribs and whatnot in record of child who's no more than 5 years old. From 6th year he didn't even bother to come to hospital. And wanna know my opinion about his mask? Yes, he wears a mask. I don't think it's a fashion statement or anything else, and he's hiding something. He hates this place. And I will commend his will if at the very least he didn't loathe you. Malnutrition, chakra burns, etc. Did you key in his chakra? Here he let out his own killing intent. The boy's hands has 1-degree chakra burns, which can be only caused by seals around your home when they detect an intruder. Thanks to the prejudice of teachers, he has no friends except that girl Fu, the Nanabi Jinchuriki. And the girl would have been a Taki shinobi. And even that bond was flimsy at best. Haruka tried to connect with the child, but as I said, it's already too late. And he looks at everyone in Konoha like they were ghosts. I think when he sees a person he sees their prejudice towards him and walks away immediately. So tell me, Minato Namikaze, is it surprising that I see your son is mid-flight risk? He shouted. For a few minutes there was nothing but silence and a powerful battle of glares between the 3 cage level ninja, to the point in which you could easily cut the tension in the air, even with a rusty kunai. Is this everything you came to say, Orochimaru? Asked Minato with a cold voice, getting nothing but a nod from the snake summoner, who stood up alongside the blonde Hokage. After all, he had already done his job here, so there was not really any reason for him to stay. Orochimaru, said Minato, now standing at the door of his house and seeing the head of the T&I department leaving, but he still had some words to say before that. What is it, Minato? Asked Orochimaru with a raised brow, wondering what the fourth fire shadow wanted to say to him now. Thank you for telling me all of this. I was just doing my job, but now it's your turn to fix this before something happens, said Orochimaru, before simply leaving in a leaf shunshin no jutsu, body flicker technique. After all, he still had one work to finish. Don't worry, I will, said the blonde Hokage, more than himself that to anyone just before entering the house and pondering everything that just happened. How could he have been such a lousy father? He remembered how it felt to grow without a family. He was an orphan after all, and it was only when his sensei and father figures started to train him that he actually felt true happiness, so he made a vow to himself that he would be the best father he could be to his children to make sure that they could have the happiness that came with the family that Minato didn't have the first years of his life, but apparently he had failed somehow. Meanwhile, in the living room, Kushina was also pondering about everything that happened this night. At first she could not believe at all that she had really forgot about one of her sons like that, but the more she tried to remember anything about Naruto, the more she realized how bad of a mother she really was. Since the destruction of her clan, Kushina had always wanted a big family, and she had promised herself that she would do anything to bring joy to that family, but it looks like that was a promise she did not manage to fulfill. After all, what kind of mother neglects her son like that? The Uzumaki Namikaze matriarch was taken out of her thoughts by a gentle hand on her shoulder, and when she saw that it was her husband who had a sad face, she finally released everything she was holding and started to cry while hugging her husband as tight as she could, while Minato tried his best to comfort her. How did we forget about him, Minato-kun? Asked Kushina between sobs, fearing how bad the relationship with her firstborn child truly was. I don't know, Kushi-chan, I don't know, but we're going to fix this no matter what, said Minato, who felt her wife nod in his chest, her sobs becoming less loud. It was at that moment that both of them promised to themselves that, no matter how hard it might be, they will find a way to reconnect with their neglected son. That was the promise of a lifetime. That lot of good it did. But what Orochimaru said was true. His son was not in his room. It was just the day after the visit from Orochimaru that you could find both Minato and Kushina sitting in the living room of their house, once again pondering about their conversation with Orochimaru. The first thing that the 2S rank shinobi had decided was that they would start doing their best to reconnect with their son as soon as they could, which was the reason they woke up extra early this day. One of the things they decided to change immediately was to include Naruto in the training time their family had. For this purpose they decided that, even though today was an academy day, their children would not go since both Minato and Kushina decided to use this day as a good start to show their firstborn child that he was an important part of the family and that he was loved by them. For this to work well, they decided to tell their other children first, since they could surely help them and make Naruto feel as a part of the family just like he was. This was the reason they were both waiting for their kids to come down so that they could tell them the news about their brother now training with them. Of course, a worry that both parents had was that Naruto was probably not at the same level of Menma Omido, but then what Orochimaru said about Naruto hiding his strength, Senjutsu and that level stealth and chakra control, it's mind-boggling. It was after some minutes of them waiting that their three children, Menma, Mito and Itsumi, finally reached down to the living room. Their youngest child had a sleepy expression, while both Menma and Mito had a more confused expression in their faces. After all, it was not normal for their parents to wake them up so early. The three Uzumaki Namikaze children sat in front of their parents, who were standing and looking at them with both pride and sadness. Menma was wearing his regular clothes for the academy, which were a blue sleeveless shirt, black anbu pants and blue ninja sandals. Over his shirt he was wearing a white high-collar jacket that had the Uzumaki symbol in red in its back. Meanwhile, Mito wore a short-sleeved purple kimono-like blouse with a dark embroidered border that hugged her B-cup breast, held closed with a deep red obi, a dark skirt and stockings that stopped at her thighs, along with blue ninja sandals, and just like her brother, she also had the Uzumaki clan symbol in the back of her blouse. Last but not least was Natsumi, who sat in between her brother and sister. She was also wearing a sleeveless kimono-style blouse that was black-orange in color and held closed with a deep blue obi over a short-sleeved mesh shirt with a pair of dark blue shorts and blue shinobi sandals. The Uzumaki Namikaze trio were looking at their parent, Menma with his arms crossed and Mito with her hands on her lap, both curious about what their parents wanted so early. Meanwhile, Natsumi was still rubbing her eyes with her hands, doing her best to stay awake since she normally slept a little more than her brother and sister. "Children, yesterday your father and I made a decision that I'm sure will help our family a lot," said Kushina with a loving smile directed at her children before looking at her husband and giving him a little nod, signaling him to continue from here. "We decided that, starting today, your brother will now be joining us for training," announced Minato with a carefree smile, expecting a lot of reactions from his three kids, but definitely not the ones he saw. Menma's eyes widened in surprise just before his face adopted an annoyed expression. Apparently he was not amused by this news at all. Meanwhile, Mito's eyes also widened at hearing the news, and after that she simply lowered her gaze and started muttering thing too low for anyone to hear. Itsumi on the other hand adopted a confused expression before she moved one of her fingers to her chin, apparently she was deep in thought about something. In the end it was Menma the one who was vocal about his thoughts, and both Minato and Kushina certainly did not expect what he said. Why on earth did we have to train with that loser? Sure he kicks all our collective into jutsu, but sucks at everything else. You know he hates to be called Namikaze Uzumaki. Unless you call him Naruto he'd never bother to look at you. Train him first in ninjutsu, then we'll train with him. He said in an annoyed tone. He needs all the help he can in that department. Meanwhile his little sister still had the same thinking expression from before, which just made her look cuter if you asked anyone. Menma. That's not the way to talk about your brother. Reprimanded Kushina in a stern voice, her hands on her hips and an angry expression plastered on her face. Not that it ain't truth though, he muttered. Menma that's enough. Said Minato, quite angry at one of his sons speaking like that about his brother. It doesn't matter if Naruto is behind you in terms of training, he's still your brother and you will treat him with the respect he deserves. Ah-chan, how does Naruto on E-chan looks like? Asked Natsumi with an innocent expression out of nowhere, which made both Minato and Kushina's eyes to widen and for Menma and Mito to raise an eyebrow at her question. In reality Natsumi had been trying to remember her other brother ever since the start of the conversation, but it was just now that she remembered Naruto's name, let alone remember how he even looks like, something that made her frustrated, although in her defense, she sometimes forgets she had another brother since she haven't even talked to him in years. Both Minato and Kushina looked alarmed at one another, since apparently their relationship with Naruto was not the only one who was bad at best. This just brought even more sadness to both Minato and Kushina's hearts. How bad had they been as parents that they not only forgot about one of their children, but they didn't even realize how Naruto had separated himself from their family. They found themselves once again vowing that they will make amends to their son no matter what. The oldest redhead realized a sigh before smiling toward her children, although both Mito and Menma could easily see that her smile was quite strained. Itsumi-chan, why don't you go and wake up Naruto-kun so that we can start the day, said Minato, trying his best to redirect the question his daughter just made. After all, he could not just tell her that both him and Kushina didn't know how their son looked like for sure. This seemed like the right thing to say though, since little Natsumi nodded with a smile on her face before practically skipping towards the stairs leading to the second floor of the house, while the rest of the family waited there in the living room. Minato and Kushina wanted to talk to Naruto before doing anything else today, to make sure that he knew they loved him and that they were sorry for not have been showing it as much as they should. It wore after just a few minutes that Natsumi returned to the living room, although she did it with a shy look and without her brother. What happened, Natsumi-chan? Asked Kushina after getting closer to her daughter, concern evident in her voice. I didn't want to make Naruto Oni-chan mad at me by waking him up, answered Natsumi in a shy voice that was not normal for her at all. I'm sure Naruto-kun won't get mad at you for that, Natsumi-chan, but why don't we all go to wake him up? Said Minato with a loving smile directed towards his youngest daughter, although in the back on his mind, the though that he really didn't know how his son would react, almost made him release a sigh. That answer got another happy nod from Natsumi, who letted not only her parents but also Mito, who was really curious about how Naruto's room looked like, and Menma, who simply tagged along because there wasn't anything else he could do at this point. When the Uzumaki Namikaze family reached Naruto's room, it was Minato the one that knocked the door, expecting to see his son opening or saying something in any moment. After some seconds of nothing happening, Minato knocked the door again, but it was the same result, which actually made Kushina to worry a little. Naruto-kun, it's time to wake up, said Kushina while knocking the door, but just like when her husband did, she got no answer, which made her look at her husband a little alarmed, but he only answered with a nod and a sigh, thinking that his wife was overreacting a little bit. Naruto-kun, we're going in, announced the oldest male of the family before opening the door and entering Naruto's room, and what they saw was definitely not what they were expecting. The room was, to put it simply, empty. The only thing it had was nothing but a bed, a bookcase that had no books at all, and an empty wooden desk. The walls were completely white and had no poster or anything that suggested a 14-year-old boy lived here at all. Of course, this just made not only Kushina alarmed and preoccupied, but also Minato, who walked around the room and saw the dust that was over both the bookcase and the desk, something that indicated no one used this room in a while. But that's impossible, thought Minato, now sharing his wife worries about Naruto more than ever. But it was what Natsumi said next that really got the two adults in a state of panic. Where's Naruto Oni-chan? It was true, there was obviously no sign of Naruto in this room. Heck, there was not even a sign of him living here at all. Both Minato and Kushina looked at each other and they needed no words to know that the other one was thinking. Orochimaru said that once but they didn't believe it, but in face of the cold blind truth they nearly collapsed. Where was their son? They had done it. Madara was dead. Kagaya was once again sealed. Obito had sacrificed himself to save Naruto and Kakashi, and for that he was eternally grateful, even if he had caused much hardship and pain along the way. Then Sasuke decided to be a prick and expressed his desire to kill all the cages and revolutionize the shinobi system by being its darkness. After the fight which leveled the entire Valley of the End, they lost a limb to each other and Sasuke accepted to come back home. Both of them were nearly dead but were rescued by their remaining team members. Home, Naruto spoke aloud. To think, after so many years of battling, training, trying to protect his precious people, he was finally granted peace. Despite everything that happened, the point was, it was over. It was over, and they were going home to Konoha. They were going home. In most cases you would be sentenced to a life of containment or executed, but due to your aid in lifting the eternal Tsukuyomi, this option is available, Kakashi intoned. Sasuke held his gaze for a fraction of a second before turning on his heel. Wait. He stopped but did not turn towards the source of the voice. What? Naruto scoffed. No words of goodbye to your best friend. Your rival. Hell, I'm practically your damn brother, team. When he did not turn to acknowledge him, he walked up to him and grabbed his good arm with his own, startling him. He finally turned to him. I'll be waiting, Nai-san, he joked with a humorous grin. The corner of his mouth twitched up slightly and his eyes slightly softened. Naruto decided to continue. We'll all be waiting for you. Don't make any of us have to track you down again, or I'll beat your ass. Friends don't keep friends hanging, so you better come back. Sasuke simply stared at him, seemingly searching. After a while he gave a curt nod before turning away and continuing down the road. Naruto and Kakashi stared after him for a while, even after his brooding form had disappeared into the horizon. His life was fulfilling. After the debacle with Toneri and returning Moon back to its original position, he started dating Hinata and mercilessly teased Kurama on his penmanship. But wasn't it Kurama one who taught him Fuinjutsu using his mother's and Bachan's grandmother's memories? And didn't he love Hinata-chan since she confessed to him during his battle with Pain? So why is he so dense towards her feelings? All those thoughts fled during the festivities. Sasuke married Sakura Haruno and he married Hinata-chan. The team still wandered around the world leaving his daughter and Sakura alone. Naruto always thought that if Sasuke ever had a child, it would be cold day in hell before he gets separated from her. Well, Boruto and Himawari are really cute, aren't they? And won't Sarada and Boruto make a cute couple? But he has to guard his little Haim-chan from all the boys' Databeo. Mitsuki was really close to her, so maybe call the brat and have few talks with him. He must be the only Kage who didn't attend his own coronation ceremony. Really, it's funny that a man hailed as the god of shinobi got knocked out by his 6-year-old daughter who just activated her Byakugan. Naruto felt proud of his daughter even though he never told anyone about the incident. Sasuke team would never let him live it down. His relationship with his son and daughter after he became Hokage was something he's not proud of. Jiji always allowed him to call him Jiji, irrespective of who were present. So why the fuck did he insist that he was to be called Nanadium-sama by his own children, he wondered. He's not one for manners, hell he still called Killer Byakuto Pops to his face. He got a strong headache after that, but it receded immediately making him forget his thoughts. Why on earth did he send a shadow clone to his cute daughter's birthday instead of going directly? He never knew. After all, he used to use any excuse to get away from that goddamn paperwork. But this ain't an excuse to get away, but a chance to spend time with his loving family. So why did he do that? He shook off his thoughts as Sasuke came in with disturbing news about Kagaya again. The Chunin exams have started with Shikamaru as the proctor. Thankfully his son's team managed to guess the selection process. Boruto to his surprise demolished his opponents in the second round using lightning and water release techniques. He felt really proud when he heard it from Shika. Boruto then proceeded to defeat Yuri of Kumagakure and reached the third round. Then there was blood, a lot of blood. Shinsan's soft voice broke into his consciousness as he realized he's in embrace of a beautiful woman who's rubbing his back gently. Please wake up. It's just a nightmare. SHH, calm down. The child woke up revealing his expressive blue eyes. Snatching the mask under his pillow he covered his face immediately. He noted that the fire was restarted and looked at his nightly visitor. She was a beautiful auburn-haired woman with eyes resembling dark emeralds. Her hair is tied up in an elegant knot and she wore dark blue kimono with silver roses painted on them. And how the hell did she break into the tent? He placed seals outside the tent. Ni-chan. What the hell are you doing in this tent? He said exasperately. Pointing his finger at her he accused. Why did you sneak out of your tower? It's immature of you, Nichan, that sorry, he coughed. And how the hell did you know I'm here? And call me by my name? I trusted you to call me by my own name, not that stupid title you guys have given me. He grinned brightly. The auburn-haired woman glared at the small boy in her lap. Naruto-kun, are you having nightmares again? What are you saying, Ni-chan? Naruto doesn't have nightmares, Tobeo. He grinned. And how did you enter the tent? I remember placing seals around it. I put few drops of blood in the ink you've requested, Naruto-kun. She said softly. She raised her hand when he started to complain. I'm sorry for that, but you're the most unstable kid I've ever met. And for not having nightmares, she raised her hand and wiped his cheeks and showed him her wet hands. You're crying in your sleep, Naruto-kun. I have to hold you for 15 minutes for you to calm down your breathing. I am not confident enough to leave you on your own. Naruto looked down dejectedly and raised his head with mournful expression in his eyes. Mei softened at his look and put him on the futon. Sorry, Ni-chan. He said. I just wanted to be alone. Please don't worry about me. I'm fine now. Wanna talk about it, Naruto-kun? Seeing the boy shake his head, she sighed. You said you're leaving for Konoha tomorrow, right, Naruto-kun? Yes, Ni-chan. Tsuchiya-san would be worried about me. I left him back 5 months ago to follow the revolutionaries without his consent. He would have been pretty mad and more mad if I haven't sent a shadow clone in my pleasure. I designed a seal for it to convert Sen into chakra if it have run out. It popped out accidentally 3 weeks ago and I forgot to send another one in its place. Alright kid. So you decided not to join Kiri then. Pity, but promise to send me a letter as soon as you teach Konoha. And here is my gift for you, Naruto-kun. As he began to protest, she raised her hand and continued, I know you did it to help us for nothing, Naruto, but think it as our gratitude. Without your help the entire Yuki clan would have been wiped out, same for few bloodlines. And the scroll is my seal as a Mizukage of Kurigakure no Sato that anyone who harms you, he and his village, will be the enemy of Kiri. Few clan members and their heads gave few items and Ryo I guess for you, and I didn't look through it. It doesn't contain dangerous things, but just be careful. So, anyone waiting for you in Konoha? Mei grinned teasingly at his reddening cheeks. Any cute girl caught my little Atauto's eyes. Is there any boy you like? Ignoring the boy's shouts of Ni-chan, stop it, Tabeo. Pouting at her teasing, he looked at her mischievously. Ni-chan. Did you find anyone attractive or did you scare off your potential suitors again? If this continues you'll be old before you marry Tabeo. He immediately dodged the kunai thrown at him and ran out of the tent. The shinobi of Kurigakure shook their head seeing their leader chasing a blonde-haired masked kid shouting, get back here you little shit. On top of her lungs. It has been 2 weeks since the revolution ended and the kid healed all the injured ones. The Kiri Revolutionary Army never knew the kids, or possibly he might be just short like that traitor Mizukage and that blasted Tsuchikage, no one knows Facer his real name, but he's goddamn good medic and one of the most ferocious shinobi who changed the tide of the civil war. They would be forever grateful to the child. All of you please stop staring and continue your work. A polite voice ordered them. The shinobi flinched slightly at the Anbu who walked towards the squabble pair. None of the Kiri shinobi knew this Anbu, except that he's a member of Mizukage's protection squad. He's short like that traitor but calm and peaceful opposed to him. The Anbu ran after them in high cage level speed and all 3 of them disappeared from their sight. All 3 of them met near the lake located in outskirts of the village. Sensing that no one except 3 of them are present, the Anbu took off his mask revealing handsome young face with pale skin and pupilless pink eyes. He looked like a person who just entered his teens, but the remaining company recognized him. Hello, Yugura-sama. You're here for Mizukage-sama? Naruto asked calmly. The pale green-haired man shook his head and replied. I'm not here for Mei-san, Naruto-kun. I have a request for you. Huh? Stupid bastard. The blonde-haired boy cursed under his breath, shifting the toddler who he placed in the sling over his shoulder. Gently, is it not enough I've saved his life, but he wanted me to take care of his only son here, and slowly, not wanting to wake up the boy. Hell, I'm only 10 approaching 11 in 2 months, how am I supposed to raise a kid? Taking the baby out of the sling, he lifted the kid, changed the diapers. Nasama-kun, do I look like a woman? I swear I will get back at your midget-sized father even if it kills me. Believe it. The toddler continued snoring, not caring about the ranting of the blonde kid. Naruto sighed and created a shadow clone to the nearby town for supplies. After half an hour the clone bought the supplies and they continued to Konoha. It has been a week since he left Kiri. Yugura brought his only son to Naruto and asked him to take care of him. Naruto understood his reasons, he did. If the village knew Yugura has a son, there would be an uproar and many would call for the head of the kid in the worst case. In the best case he'd be ostracized and shunned by the villagers. Unable to deny his request, Naruto took the child with him. At this speed it'll be around an hour before he reached Konoha. An hour later, Naruto reached the main gate of Konohagakure no Sato. Seeing the familiar faces of Izumo Kamizuki and Kitetsu Hagane, he waved his hand at them. Both of them looked stunned at him and immediately opened the gates, and Kitetsu went to call Anbu. Nebrat. Do you know how much trouble you've caused? Izumo grinned at him. Hokage-sama tore apart the entire village trying to find you. He mobilized the Jounins, special tracker Jounins and all the Anbu to trace you, and you're here with another brat. Naruto's eyes widened in terror. The seal safeguard is fucking broken. Sadness, regret, self-loathe and despair. Those were the feeling that right now plagued the mind of not only the strongest ninja of Konoha, Minato Namikaze, but also the mind of the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Kushina Uzumaki. Why would these two ninjas feel like that? The reason is that, for the past week they have been trying to find their firstborn child, Naruto, who has been missing for the past month. Where is he, Minato-kun? All but yelled Kushina, whose normal violet eyes were now red and puffy from all the crying she had been doing. I don't know, Kushi-chan, said Minato while embracing his sobbing wife, feeling completely lost about what to do at this point. Of course, the first thing both him and Kushina thought after seeing that Naruto was not in his room was that he had either woken up even more early than them and had gone out, or that he had stayed in one of his friend's house, which according to what Orochimaru had told them was restricted to Ichirikus and Sandaime-sama, since apparently they was Naruto's only friends. They had ended up sending both Mito and Menma to the academy, telling them that as soon as they saw their brother, they should tell him to go straight home with them, something that Mito and Menma rapidly accepted but grumbled about good-for-nothing brothers. It took some effort from Minato, but he managed to get Kushina to stay at home with Natsumi. After all, they couldn't leave her alone, and she was not starting the academy until next year, so it was only the Hokage that went towards the market district, or to be more specific towards their family's favorite shop, Ichiraku Ramen. He was greeted by the daughter of Tucci, who greeted him with blush on her face and asked if he's here for ramen. No, I'm sorry, but is Naruto here? He asked cautiously. He heard from Orochimaru that Naruto is close to the ramen shop owners, but they always treated his family normally. He didn't know how they'd react when Naruto is mentioned. Naruto didn't come to work since last week, Hokage-sama. Dad is pretty worried about him and went to Uchiha Police Department yesterday. He never missed work and always let us know in advance. You can ask Sandaime-sama or Mito-san. The trip to Sandaime and Guy led to similar that in telling Kushina what AM had told him, he tried to do his best to calm a panicked Kushina, who was mumbling about all sort of crazy things that might have happened to her little Naru-kun. Minato told her that he was probably at the academy and that as soon as he got home with Mito and Menma, they would all talk about where he had been and why his bedroom was like that. Of course, that conversation never happened since both Menma and Mito returned home after the academy, saying that Naruto had missed today's class. Now this really got Minato just as worried as Kushina, so he quickly called the Anbus and told them to go and look for his son as fast as they could. Minato really hoped that the Anbus, under the leadership of none other than Kakashi Haddock, managed to find Naruto fast. After all, Kushina looked the worst she had ever been. She was not the only one worried though, since both Natsumi and Mito, although the later acted like she wasn't, were quite worried too. If you asked Menma though, he would just say he didn't give a crap, but deep down he too was worried. It was after the first whole day of having not even a signal of Naruto that things got really bad. Minato had assembled different party groups to search for their son in every part of Konoha and the area around the village, even in places like the Forest of Death. Every ninja that didn't had any urgent mission was practically tossed into the search groups, which included both Orochimaru and Tsunade of the Sannin. Jiraiya would have probably helped too, but he was outside of the village at the moment. The blonde Hokage could remember pretty well how his wife had almost cut Orochimaru into pieces when he suggested that Naruto had left the village just like he had warned. It took both him and Tsunade to stop the rampaging redhead from seriously attacking the pale Sannin, although he just looked at them with an expression that practically said I told you so. Even after all of these efforts, they had not managed to find a single trace of Naruto anywhere, not even with the help of the different clans of Konoha like the Inuzuka or the Aburam, who were now for their incredible tracking abilities. Yes, it has been a whole month ever since the search started, and even though Minato didn't want to admit it, the chance of finding his son looked pretty low. He could not bring himself to say that to his wife though, since he knew that him giving up would only make everything worse for the now anguished Uzumaki women, who of course blamed herself for the disappearing of their son. After all, if she had been paying more attention to him, this might not have happened. Minato too felt the same, but sadly there was nothing they could do at this point but wait to see if Naruto turned up and then find a way to mend their relationship with their son. The blonde Hokage was taken out of his thoughts by the arrival of an Anbu with silver gravity defying hair and a dog mask, which Minato easily recognized at his last living student. It was his words though that sent a wave of relief over both him and his wife. We found him. Fucking shit. He thought, panic though it cannot be seen on his face. How the hell am I supposed to explain everything? And why me, he wailed inwardly. Non-I, the voice of the toddler reached his ears and he formed an uncanny plan in his mind. Lifting Sama up, he kissed him on his chubby cheeks as he thanked the baby inwardly as the brat giggled, touching his masked face. Without any hand seals, he reconstructed his memories and opened few of his wounds, and he inflicted few to resemble torture devices and healed them partially. A few moments later, 3 Anbu appeared. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze? Asked one of the Anbus, the one with silver hair and with the mask of a dog. Meanwhile, Naruto almost rolled his eyes and nodded, feeling glad to be in the presence of his ex-sensei. Okage-sama has called you Uzumaki Namikaze-sama, you must come with us, said another Anbu, this one with black hair and a weasel mask. Smiling inwardly at the Anbu who sacrificed everything for the sake of village and his life, but still died as a villain without any recognition for his sacrifice, he lifted the baby who's sucking his thumb on. Oh please, could you take care of him, Weasel-san? He is still a toddler and I don't know if he could handle high speeds. Itachi nodded and took the baby from Naruto's arms. Do you want me to bring him to Hokage-sama, Naruto-kun? Naruto nodded and placed his hand on the arm of his former if possible future sensei and disappeared alongside him in Asunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique, his other companion using the same jutsu just a second later, while Itachi simply ran with the child squealing loudly, their destination being the Hokage office in which both the Hokage and his wife were more than anxious in seeing their missing son. He was dropped at the door of the office and he stood calmly in front of the door trying to control his emotions. A voice that Naruto recognized as Minato's took the young blonde out of his thoughts. Apparently it was now his turn to go in, so that he did, entering the Hokage's office with a neutral expression on his face and of course, he was mildly surprised to see not only his father, but also his mother, Kushina, there too, and Naruto had to admit that she really looked worse to wear. Both Minato and Kushina's widened in surprise after finally seeing their son, after all they were taken by surprise because of his appearance. The first thing that they noted was that he was quite short for someone of his age, they were sure he was probably a few inches smaller than Menma. His entire face was covered by mask and Minato felt like seeing smaller blonde Kakashi. Minato was about to say something but was stopped by his wife, whose joy at finally seeing Hisashi was too big to contain. Naruto-kun. That really got Naruto by surprise, after all the first thing he heard as soon as he got in was that yell from his mother, who had already dashed towards him, her arms wide open, ready to give her son a bone-crushing hug. The startled blonde was picked up by suffocating bear hug but enjoyed the warmth of his mother for first time in his life. But it's not a time to do this, so he immediately pushed her away. Uzumaki-sama. Please never do that again. He said with polite but cold tone, while his expression remained as neutral as he could, which made both Kushina and Minato flinch at hearing that tone. In the end it was Minato the one that reacted first, since Kushina's gaze was still in Naruto and she seemed petrified, probably because of both Naruto's words and action. Naruto, that's not the way you should speak to your mother. Reprimanded Minato in a stern voice, although this seemed to have no effect in the young blonde. Said blonde's gaze now went from the unmoving redhead to him. I assure you, Hokage-sama, that I'm treating her with the level of respect she deserves from my part, answered Naruto in the same cold voice, his face showing no feeling while in the inside he was crying and begging forgiveness. Naruto-kun, whispered Kushina, obviously hurt from Naruto's word. The matriarch of the Uzumaki Namikaze clan tried to get close to her son, but as soon as she moved, Naruto too moved a step back, his body tense in case she or his father did something. Seeing their distraught faces, he sighed. I was told you needed my presence, Hokage-sama. I'm going to guess that this meeting has something to do with my whereabouts this past month or so. I don't know the date, so sorry. Asked Naruto, his tone and face showing no emotions. The eldest blonde blinked a couple of times before the question got registered in his mind. Why yes, Naruto-kun, as a matter of a fact that is the reason for this. Started Minato, his voice getting calmer. Where were you, Naruto-kun? You got us all worried here. We have been searching for you for the whole month and a half. Questioned Minato, wanting to know where in Kami's name his son has been spending the whole week. He looked at them skeptically and replied. I was kidnapped. What? His mother shouted outraged while his father was gripping his desk tightly, his knuckles turning white. I was kidnapped by a person pretending to be Amino-sensei, Hokage-sama. At the sudden kai he pretended to be scared. Minato looked at his expression and immediately controlled it. At this moment Itachi came in and gave Sama back to him. Naruto relieved him of the brat who pulled his hair, giggling cheekily. Ah, sorry Hokage-sama. But please can you call Orochimaru-sama or Jiraiya-sama, Sandaime-sama, Mito-san with someone to enter my mind? He requested. I don't want to repeat this again and again. And write a slip for my absence. I really don't want to deal with that headache again. A few minutes later Hiruzen, Sarutobi and Guy entered with Inoichi Yamanaka. When Guy saw him he immediately hugged him, mindful about the toddler shouting about youth, while Hiruzen looked at him kindly. Okay, as all of you were here. I was kidnapped few weeks ago by a person pretending to be Amino-sensei. There was group of hushed whispers, but he continued. I was careless and didn't bother to check his presence. I just checked his chakra and went near him and he knocked me out. When I was awake I found myself in a dreary old room and panicked. Searching for his signature, I then looked at his present. Surprise, it's necessary, sensei. He came to me and transformed into a odd human being. He was completely white like chalk white and has mint green hair. He called me Jinchuriki and said he'd pull Kyuubi out of me and whatnot. Few minutes later a pure black mask came and fused with him and an ah. Please can you give me a pencil and paper? I can draw really well. And describe him clearly and let Inoichi-sama look into my mind to confirm it. Minato nodded and gave paper and pencil to the boy. Taking few more pages, he started to draw some pictures. The idiots didn't bother to put chakra suppression cuffs, but gagged me and left me in a cage tied up for 2 weeks. A few hours later I was taken to an odd room which has this Gaint statue. There 9 people stood wearing odd rings. I can't remember clearly wearing a uniform of sorts. It was a complete black cloak with red clouds embroidered on them. Not acknowledging their shocked faces, he continued. When I was placed on altar of sorts, the person they called Leader Sama, here he showed them portrait of Nagato with rippled eyes, noticing Orochimaru's deep breath in shock, shouted at the plant guy, saying I'm not the Jinchuriki, and called him a moron whom he called Zetsu. Blue-haired Ni-chan who was called Conan, pulled me out of the room and placed me in a cell. She gave me food and water, and an orange-haired guy with same eyes as Leader talked about pulling out my soul or something. She managed to convince him not to kill me. Unknown to them I created a seal of pure chakra and placed on her. The days are hellish. Managed to get a seal on all 15 of them. Funny that 7 of them have same eyes and 6 share orange hair. Conan Ni-chan managed to keep me safe and I created shadow clones and carefully analyzed the entire building. Gigi taught me those and I'm thankful for you. He smiled at Sandame-sama. Don't remember when but this little guy was bought in. They said something about Mizukage's death and Sanbi sealed into the kid. Same result as me though. But this time half of the Akatsuki were calling for our heads. A silver-haired guy he showed Hayden's drawing wanted to sacrifice us for Jashin-sama. Conan Ni-chan cut off his head, arms and legs, but he's stitched back by this guy. He showed Kakazu's portrait. Who said keeping brats is a waste of money. Zetsu wanted to eat us and Toby. I think he's just acting like an idiot jumped up and down about human barbecue or something. Conan Ni-chan shattered 3 of 5 masks of this guy, throwed paper bombs at this guy, but it passed through him as if it's nothing. This shark guy wanted to kill the kid for no reason at all. But Pain-san took pity on us and dumped me and the kid outside the place and ordered others not to harm us. Damn, my seal which would act as a high-level explosive seal went to waste. Pain-san took out the tag from him and others and sent me with a tent, futon and few supplies with this brat. Conan Ni-chan gave food enough for few days and money. Managed to come here in 2 weeks. He shrugged. He let you go just like that? Minato asked, shock apparent in his tone. Just like that. I was thought to be tied up in the cell during my incarnation. They didn't expect an academy student to know shadow clone and my stealth is really good. I was carved up by a blonde bastard. He showed Dodara's portrait and pointed at Sasori's one and he made me senbon practice. I kept the shark guy from the kid and he used to hit me with his sword. Conan Ni-chan healed my wounds most of the time. One day I thought I would die. The silver bastard took my blood, swallowed it and turned black. He stabbed himself with his scythe and blood flowed everywhere. Before he could stab at a vital part, Conan Ni-chan cleared the floor with water, interrupting him. He shuddered. I saw 5 of Pain-sen's what he called them, hot-paths holding down those killers. His power is terrifying. He didn't saw the other seal thankfully. I used it to wipe out their memories after reaching Hai no Kuni. I have to adjust the seal for each of them. Thankfully they worked. I'd know because I ran into the blonde bastard and his partner 3 days ago and they didn't recognize me. Minato gritted his teeth in anger. Each and everyone in the room were projecting their kai. Sama started to wail furiously under their kai and Naruto rocked the child to and fro. They stopped it immediately with guilt in their eyes. Naruto felt bad for deceiving his parents, but he can't exactly say, hey guys, I went to Kiri to stop a bloodline war and came back with Mizukage's son, right? I have to go to hospital. Conan Ni-chan was not an actual medic and I didn't learn Iryo ninjutsu, so I am sorry. If you want you can summon me to T and I are here for questioning. He promptly collapsed and the baby started crying again. Naruto was brought to hospital by Hirashin no Jutsu by Minato and was immediately checked by Tsunade. She tried to pull his mask, but it's futile. She removed the boy's clothes and was startled at the number of wounds on his body. Quickly performing the diagnosis technique, she steeled her nerves and started healing him. Giving him some anesthetic, she covered his body and called Kushina to help her remove the mask. Kushina broke down on seeing his face and was taken carefully and was placed on the waiting chair. She cried hysterically and Sama patted her on cheeks trying to comfort her. What happened, Kushina-chan? Minato questioned, holding her gently. Is Naruto-kun alright? Please Kushina-chan, try to control yourself. What happened is that the boy has severe burns on left side of his face. It was nearly 4 years old and his mouth cut from ear to ear. I completely removed the skin at those parts and will conduct a delicate plastic surgery. His entire body was covered in scars, most of them at least more than 2 years old. He has Uzumaki blood and if he got scarred I'm afraid how much damage was done to him. Tsunade said professionally, but her tone has underlying coldness. What? They shouted, voices raised in horror as Kushina continued to weep. Few hours later a busty blonde woman can be seen looking over the medical records, simultaneously checking vitals of a blonde-haired kid in private ward of Kanahagakure Hospital. Her face was set in a deep scowl and was itching to tear someone limb by limb. "Senju-sama," a voice broke her out of her murderous thoughts. "Please tone down your yokai. And why am I in hospital?" The kid who shouldn't be conscious at least for a few more hours, judging by the strength of anesthetics, asked dryly. "And why am I tied to the bed?" As if registering something, his eyes widened in horror and demanded loudly, "Who took off my mask? And why does my face feel different?" Tsunade glared at the boy, who glared back defiantly. "Look here, stupid brat, you were brought here by your father when you passed out in his office. As a medic I started diagnosis and found many untreated and undertreated wounds. Your mask was a hindrance and I called Orochimaru to remote the seal on your mask." She lied, not knowing how he'd react to his mother removing it. Orochimaru said that there was a very strong possibility that Naruto might be hated his parents and didn't want to risk it. "As for your face, I removed the entire skin and was preparing to regrow your skin by stimulating the growth of living cells by yin chakra. I'm gonna use smaller version of this seal," she said, tapping rhombic symbol on her head to perform it. "I may not be a medic, Senju-sama, but I can see it'll be really costly. And I don't have a family. I think Hokage-sama bought me here and as far I know only person who can remove the seal is him and Uzumaki-sama. It's a complicated seal. Not that I'm insulting Orochimaru-sama's intellect, but Sandaime-sama said that I was better in Fuinjutsu than him. Said I'm 3 levels less than Grandmaster in Fuinjutsu, with Uzumaki-sama and Hokage-sama holding the title. Next time please don't lie. I'm not gonna throw a tantrum because things didn't go as I like," he said icily. Tsunade winced inwardly at the icy tone. Her teammate was right in saying that the brat might hate his parents. At first she was ready to kill both of them for neglecting the child to this extent. She ordered Inoichi to check their minds only to find nothing to indicate his presence in their lives. They didn't abuse or mistreat him, just they didn't do anything. It's surprising for Tsunade, but it led both Minato and Kushina to get even more depressed. "So what's the cost for the surgery, Senju-sama? I have been saving some money for this. It may not be enough, but I'll pay you back later." "No need for that, brat. Sorry." Minato and Kushina said that they'll take care of expenses for your treatment. "I'll try my best to reduce scarring all over your body and try to make your face normal as much as I can. Don't think of it as charity," she said when he started to protest. "If you wish, work out something with him if for more than a year you'll be permanently scarred this way." "I bought a toddler with me, Senju-sama." "Where is he?" "Didn't see any child bought here, Naruto-kun," she replied. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes. "Might be with Hokage-sama or Uzumaki-sama. Please tell them to keep the kid safe." Tsunade nodded and left the room. "So," Kushina said, fidgeting slightly, carefully rocking the baby, "what did he say?" Tsunade. "I didn't ask how he got those scars, Kushina. He didn't want any of your money. Most likely he is indifferent to you guys. No outright hatred." Looking at the baby on Kushina's shoulders, "So this is the brat he asked me to keep safe." "Ah, Sama-kun. Naruto bought him back from Rainfall Country. He's the son of late Mizukage." Kushina sighed. "I thought Naruto might want to see the kid, so I bought him here. After the surgery I'll try to ask Naruto how he got those scars. If he wishes to tell me he would, if not we just have to respect his decision. I gave him other dose of morphine to knock him out. Till his surgery, don't disturb him. Afterwards you can try to speak with him if he wishes to do so." "How much time will the surgery take, Tsunade? Will Naruto-kun be alright? I know we've not been the parents to him, but please, truly, if he hates us or not. We will harden our hearts before we approach him." "I really can't help you there, Kushina. He's blank even without mask, but I can tell that he doesn't consider you his parents and was very individual kid. Has to be if he's living alone. Most of the scars are at least 4 years old and the recent past are not much of a problem. They're healed partially by someone who just knew the basics. He must be take rest for at least for a week." Sapphire eyes drifted up to meet Amaranthine, his eyes weary and sepulchral, lacking in its usual vim and vigor. He opened his mouth and struggled to speak. His words were almost inaudible. "A dream?" The man in front of him, the sage of 6 paths, nodded his head. "An illusion. I need not reiterate my statement. You understand." Naruto didn't let his gaze drift. Images of the past that apparently never existed flitted innocently through his mind. "Since when?" Naruto's voice faltered and she struggled to hold the emotions that were swirling in fulmination. "Since when was I were we? The moment you treated fight with a goddamned fucking goddess as a joke and used a childish prank against her instead of using the opening provided by my other spiritual son to damage her." The light in his eyes died. "I see that's. Asura was a fool, it's true, but never childish and arrogant against one he knew to be superior enemy. He fought ruthlessly in battle against person who dared to harm his family. I thought I saw him completely in you, Naruto, but one mistake and now the entire world pays for it. How can it be possible? Why your Sen chakra would have negated her eye illusion, don't tell that she caught me in illusion by me looking into her eyes. He looked both angry and sad at the same time. She has her Byakugan activated, stupid brat. She could easily see past an illusion. He said coldly. Without alerting Sasuke and yourself, not that she required to do so as Sasuke was shocked and you were cocky, she cast limbo and used it for shut down both of your chakra systems, temporarily enough to put you both in Tsukuyomi. Brought you back with your team. The rest is history. Naruto fell on his knees, unable to stand on hearing the words. One moment of his idiotic self simply destroyed the world. We do not have time, Hagoromo's voice grew severe. I must be brief. Do you understand why you have been awoken, child of prophecy? Why I was Naruto gasped, hope dawning on his features. If I'm alive, does that mean no? He cut his off quickly and his face fell. But now is not the time to lament the dead. No human on this planet is alive, save for you. The full emotional weight of being the only person on Earth was almost enough to kill him right there. Just minutes prior, he was happily sitting in a peaceful world overlooking his son's Chunin exams. Don't know what happened, he just saw blood and here he is in hell on Earth. Why was I awoken? Naruto snapped. I failed. Each person, everyone, they were my dream, my life. My world. He tightened his fists and blood seeped through his fingers. And now, you tell me that everyone is dead. My dream is dead. My world is dead. My life. Naruto let out an acrimonious laugh escape his lips before sending a glare at the sage. Why the fuck am I the one who still lives? If everyone is dead, then what is the point? Some child of fucking prophecy I turned out to be. He was tired, oh, so tired. What did he want of him? To gloat. To rub it in his face that he was the reason why the world was destroyed. He grit his teeth and seethed. Hagoromo seemed to look at him with an almost disparaging look, a mixture of slight sympathy and heavy disappointment, though his face was mostly taciturn. Naruto felt his rage come out in seething breaths. No one. There was no one with him now. None of her friends, no one from her slapped-together family, not even Kurama. Kurama. He didn't even have Kurama. No, not even, simply put, he didn't have Kurama. Not anymore. The damned fox that, even if he didn't know him for the entirety of it, he was with him for the entirety of his life. In some twisted manner, he had become her closest friend, both literally and figuratively. It wasn't until the war that they had truly begun to understand each other, to truly form a bond, and he didn't know whether or not he actually considered him a friend. But still, he was gone. He failed to stop the Kyuubi from awakening, failed to save Kurama. He failed him. Just as he had failed everyone else. His head hung low and she felt the stinging sensation in her eyes, the unbidden tears pooling. He failed Kurama. He failed Tsunade-bachan. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura-chan. Sasuke. Byakugan. Gaara. Everyone. You have a chance to change everything. At this, Naruto's head snapped back up and he looked at the Sennin, confusion marring his features. He dared not allow her hopes to rise. What do you mean? If you cooperate, you can go back in time. His eyes narrowed. It would take too long if they played this back and forth banter, and she wanted to hear everything. If it turned out to be a false pretense, he didn't want to waste time, he was too weary and broken. Back up. Let's just start over for a second. Pretend I just got out of my daze and I was unable to speak. Talk to me, tell me what you were going to tell me. Everything. Hagoromo gave an assessing gaze before nodding curtly. Very well, he breathed. You can go back into the past, child of prophecy. I have decided that you will be my heir, my inheritor, to my powers, all of them. As such, you will be able to perform the deed yourself and will have the ability and knowledge to change what you must. Silence pervaded and Naruto sighed, realizing that he would need to ask specific questions if he wanted more answers. How does this time travel thing work? When in the past am I going to end up? Why am I alive when everyone else is gone? How exactly am I going to be your successor? And what is the catch? Time travel is not a simple endeavor. You will need years of preparation, how many, I do not know. The technique is a one-time use and requires 3 factors. Chakra, blood, and a strong mind. In regards to being my successor, you will have all my powers along with my eyes. I really don't want to trust you after what has happened, but I don't have a choice. Only you were alive and I can't wake Sasuke before he died. I am putting my trust in you so that don't let it be misplaced. You had my chakra and you did indeed manage to utilize it, though not in the manner you had envisioned within your dreams. I could give you all of my chakra at this very moment, but your current physical state is lacking and your body would most likely collapse in on itself due to the sudden influx. My interference is the reason for your own thoughts. Remember the times you know something you're sure to know but didn't happen that way, but before digging deeper you got headache. It is me who tried to wake you up. Finally lost my temper and forcibly woke you up, so don't know what last thing you saw. You two were dying so took a risk of waking you up by plunging a sharp knife into your heart, simultaneously sending you my chakra. He replied callously. Healed you though. You're not useful to me dead. Sasuke would have died immediately if I did that, but you there's a chance of surviving. Naruto's mouth formed into a thin line as she reflected on his death. A sudden thought occurred to him. Oh, that reminds me. How old am I? I was 34 when I died in the Jinjutsu, 17 years after we supposedly won the war. Naruto looked down at his borderline emaciated frame and cringed. It has been 2 years. I see, he intoned. You didn't answer 2 of my questions, by the way. What is the catch, and if Kagaya was a problem before, why isn't she now? There is no catch. Naruto raised an eyebrow suspiciously. Pardon? I repeat, there is no catch. Contrary to popular belief, the concept of time travel and altering the past is not a forbidden or morally unjust action. There is no exchange to take place for you to change the past. The only consequences are those that you create through your decisions. So, no sacrifice needs to be made. I don't need to give an arm, an eye, part of my soul, no immense task. No. As I said, whatever consequence you are wrought is determined by your actions. Should someone die before their time, their death will be weighted on your shoulders due to your meddling, but no other supernatural extremity shall occur. Naruto pondered the information he was given. Somehow, the knowledge of there being no boundaries and limits to changing time did little to comfort him, it made her even more hesitant. What about Kagaya? Hagoromo closed his eyes and settled into a meditative position whilst in the air. She is asleep. What? She has been asleep for approximately 16 days. She sleeps to maintain the infinite Tsukuyomi and awakens at the end of each month. We do not have much time, we must send you into the past before she awakens. Naruto crossed his arms. You said that it takes years of preparation for the time travel jutsu. Besides, if I'm going back into the past, I want to be prepared. Hagoromo opened a single amaranthine eye and stared at Naruto. What? I want to make certain that I'm going to be fine when I'm in the past. I am going to learn as much as I can now while there are no wars, political battles, and stingy shinobi guarding their shit. Besides, there has to be some way to avoid detection from the big bad bitch when she wakes up. Naruto could swear that he saw the corner of the Senin's lip twitch upwards, slightly. I see, he nodded. There is indeed a way to avoid detection. But it requires utilizing Sage Chakra, which you are not physically ready for. Naruto nodded. Alright, then. Training trip. We go to Suna first, then Iwa, Kumo, Mizu, and then Konoha. There are some techniques I want, some history scrolls to brush up on, and the like. The Senin shook his head. I'm afraid I cannot leave here, child. Naruto paused and looked up at him, eyes questioning why. My presence is dwindling. Kagaya's presence is engulfing mine, rendering my own existence moot. It is only while I stay by the husk of the 10 tails that I am able to maintain a visible form at all. Is that why you can't send me back yourself? Naruto questioned. I don't have blood and body, you idiot. Otherwise I'd have gone back the moment I created this seal 3 months ago without relying on your dumb self. He shouted. Only 3 months ago? Naruto asked calmly. Are you sure it'll work? The sage looked coldly for a few moments and looked resigned. I am not completely sure, but what other options have we got? Looking straight into only living person's eyes he continued, I tried everything and looked over for smallest mistakes. We can't do anything against Kagaya now, so for fuck's sake don't try to engage her and try to kill her. Even in her sleep she'd kill you. Please for once listen to your superiors Naruto, and for once in your life don't act rashly. Only you can complete this task, child of prophecy. You have 7 years to gather what you must, no more, no less. You will return to me in 7 years' time, and we will then perform the time travel technique to send you back through time. I am not the child of prophecy, Senin-sama. Naruto said mournfully. If I might have saved my friends. My actions destroyed this world. It is exact reason why you're the child of prophecy, Naruto. If you didn't know what my old sensei, yes Gamamaru-sama was my sensei, he was the one who told me the prophecy after I left the tailed beasts. A mischievous blue-eyed boy will unite all the tailed beasts, and by his actions the world will be led to everlasting peace or destruction. After all it's by your actions the world was destroyed. So everything you do from now onwards please be serious. Naruto nodded at his words and steeled his heart. Okay Hagoromo-sama, I'll travel around the world gaining as much knowledge as possible. Please take care of whatever preparations and stuff. Yes. How do I avoid Kagaya? Hagoromo contemplated the question for a minute before stepping forward. He tapped Naruto's forehead with a single finger and stepped back. What was that? Naruto reached up to touch her forehead. He felt no different. I transferred a small portion of my chakra to you. You will learn to channel it, to make it your own, and to utilize it to conceal your presence from Kagaya. She will not be able to detect you. Naruto nodded, weariness written in his eyes and posture. Alright. Thanks, Hagoromo-sama. I guess I'll be back in 7 years. Naruto was jerked out of his sleep when he felt someone really small touched his face. Blinking blearily he saw a small face with pink pupilless eyes and small tufts of light green hair. "Nanai?" the brat exclaimed giggling cheekily. "Sama-kun," he said tenderly smiling at the kid. Seeing that they're not alone in the room, he picked up the kid and sat on the bed. "Senju-sama, Uzumaki-sama and Hokage-sama. Okay brat, your surgery was successful," Tsunade said taking a mirror and showed him his face. Naruto gingerly touched the mirror. It has been 3 years since he saw his face without those marks. He looked exactly like his 9-year-old self in his dimension without those whisker marks, and it reminded him that he's not the old Naruto. "Thank you Senju-sama. Thanks for paying the hospital bills Hokage-sama. I promise to pay every ryo spent on this operation as soon as possible." He bowed down to hide his tears. "And thank you for looking after Sama-kun." Discreetly wiping out his tears, Naruto sat straight looking at his parents hardening his eyes. Minato and Kushina flinched at his eyes. "Naruto-kun, we're your parents, your safety and happiness will always be our top concern, so please don't think that we don't care. The money we spent for your surgery is nothing," said Minato, who was now standing just alongside his wife, a hand on her shoulder and a sad smile directed towards. This was definitely not going well, thought Minato, after all it looked like Naruto did have some resent towards them. After hearing those words Naruto lowered his head a little bit, his hair shadowing his eyes, and some quiet yet powerful words escaping his mouth. "You aren't what?" asked a confused Kushina with a frown, feeling like something really bad was about to happen. Oh how right she was. "You aren't my parent," said Naruto, this time looking directly at both Minato and Kushina, his voice and eyes turning neutral and emotionless. "At least legally not since I was 7. What? What are you saying Sachi?" questioned Kushina, who could not believe her son's words. Minato too was left speechless by not only what he said, but by the tone in which he had said it. "I said that you are not my parents," Naruto said in matter-of-fact tone. "Remember the day October 10th 3 years ago?" Minato remembered that day very well. How couldn't he? It is the birthday of his 3 children and one of the most important day for his family. "Why is that day so important, so Naruto-kun?" Kushina asked softly. "I mean it's your birthday, but why that particular day?" He smiled at them wryly. "On that day Uzumaki-sama, you declared Menma as the head of Namikaze clan and Mito as Uzumaki clan head. Remember it?" Minato and Kushina nodded not understanding where it is going. "I am the eldest born son Hokage-sama. It is my birthright to be the clan head. Don't think I'm saying this of jealousy or anything, but don't you know when the eldest born is stripped of this right?" Minato's face paled rapidly and gripped the sides of the bed tightly. Kushina dropped on the chair, her face revealing the turmoil. "I guess you understand." He smiled softly, "But lem spell it for you. According to the clan law, the eldest can be stripped of his birthright when he's proved to be traitor, weaker than his siblings, or if he's thrown out of the clan. I never was a traitor, there are no sanctioned fight to prove Menma or Mito is stronger than me, they might be stronger who knows, but it's moot point now. So you guys threw me out of your family on that day itself Hokage-sama. It's not my preference to be called just Naruto, Uzumaki-sama. I cannot legally call myself that name. Sorry but it ain't my fault you know." Letting his words sink in, Naruto continued stroking the toddler's cheek gently. "So now how much do I owe you guys?" Minato looked downtrodden at his words but refused to give up. "Even legally if you aren't our family but Naruto-kun you're our flesh and blood. We beg your forgiveness. Naruto-kun," he said, tears falling freely, "but give us one chance to make it up for our neglect." Naruto's eyes turned soft for a moment but hardened immediately. "I already forgave the people who I conducted funeral in my mind, Hokage-sama. I don't remember being a family to yours and I don't even think you as my parents. My dream of being accepted into your family died on that day. I buried the name Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto on that day. The person he is, the dreams he has and everything concerning him." He said, his voice getting colder and colder with each word. "Please don't dig up those skeletons. I made peace with them and buried them. The boy before me was a jealous, angry, doubtful but love-hungered child. I don't want to be any of those especially from you. Please Achi, please just for once forgive us. We will never let you down again even if it kills us. Please Naru-kun. Just once please forgive us." Kushina's begged, her eyes turning bloodshot and her cheeks swelled. "Well Kachan, you dug up one skeleton. You called me Sachi, your son. I'll give you your son. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto and he is asking few questions which he expects answers. I'm your flesh and blood ain't I, so where are you when I turned 6 dragged into a rundown pub where the customers played nail the Akuma with glass sake bottles all night long and one overly excited chunin thought it was funny to light me up with a matchstick when I'm covered with sake. And the year before I was carved up with knives on the same day. Or the year after when my mouth is cut ear to ear while they hit me with whatever they could get their hands on and carved me up with kunai, knives etc etc. Where the fuck are you?" he shouted. Minato and Kushina felt like they're punched in gut. Shame is hitting them hardly and they couldn't reply to his questions. Ah, no answer then. Well, I know that answer. Cutting the cake with your family and celebrating it with snacks and booze. Giving your children presents and generally having fun. And you bloody call me your flesh and blood. He said, calming down. And what's next? Ah, where's my food, Akasama? Where's my chair in the dining table? Since I was 4 you never cooked for me, you know. I have to cook myself lunch and dinner. Never ate breakfast properly. So where are you then? Lem guess cooking lots and lots of delicious food for your family while I have to choose between starving or burnt food. Really good choices, right? He said with malice coloring his tone. I nearly forgot about you, Otu-sama. Did you have amnesia of sorts? I think you should have mind checked out. You forgot to key in my chakra and the seals, you know. I mean, you must be amnesiac if you forget your first son. Due to that he has his chakra system and his hands nearly burnt out on his very fine birthday when he's 6. He spent all that night crying, bleeding from his entire body on that cold night without any protection on the pavement. He's thankful that his chakra network was not fully developed, otherwise he would have been crippled for life. Thank Log for that. He said, keeping his hand under his chin. What's next? What's next? He singed unnervingly. Remembering now. Where are you, Akasama, when I injured myself training? Where are you, Otu-sama, when I got struck on something I cannot understand? Where are you when I was wounded myself during training, and where are you when I joined the academy? He glared at them menacingly. No answer again. Lem guess again. Near your children, teaching them how to access chakra, how to throw a kunai, how build their stamina, chakra control, blah blah blah. He made duck beak motions as both of them collapsed, bowing on the floor completely. Tending to their scratches, fussing over their superficial wounds and whatnot. When I bandage my stab wounds, applied ointment to my burn wounds in my room alone. Seems like I haven't buried those deep enough, Hokage-sama. Well, nothing I can do about it except to bury them again. Hopefully they won't come back. Phew, it does feel right after taking it out of my system. Taking a deep breath, he finished. So put yourselves in my shoes and tell me if you can forgive those experiences. You've hurt me too much to consider and pardon if I don't take your word for it. I'll wire you the money along with Sama-kun's babysitting fee. Jana Hokage-sama, Jana Uzumaki-sama. He said, pulling out the wires attached to him, and walked to the door, taking the baby with him. I have lived 10 years without your care, support or love. I think I'll manage. And with that he left. It has been a year since this happened. Kushina was feeling completely horrible with herself. And how could she not? The conversation she had with her son was still haunting her mind. In fact, she actually shed some tears every time she thought about it. And she had ended up coming with one simple conclusion. He hated her. Her baby boy hated both her and his father. Just that mere thought made her heart twist painfully. How terrible of a mother could she have been to him, to the point of him hating her that much? She had tried. She had tried all day long to think of any moment in which she had actually been with her oldest son, but she came out with nothing. It was something she couldn't understand. Every time she tried to remember anything related to Naruto, everything became blurry, almost like he hadn't existed before. But that was ridiculous, so Kushina could do nothing but blame herself for driving her son to the point in which he wanted nothing to do with her and Minato. She had been a disaster yesterday. After hearing Naruto's words, she had done nothing but to cry on Minato's shoulder. Her husband had tried to act calm by telling her that everything was going to be alright and that they would fix this, but Kushina was not fooled. She could see how Naruto's words had hurt him just as much as it hurt her. But Minato was right. They were going to fix this. They had to fix this. They owed Naruto that much. She was going to find a way to make amends to him. She just couldn't bear the fact that one of her son hated her, but she knew that it was both her and Minato's fault, so she will do everything in her power to fix her relationship with her son. She was in Uzumaki after all, and if there was something Uzumakis cared about the most, it was their family. She had already failed as a mother to Naruto. But she wasn't going to fail again. She was his mother, whether he liked or not, and she was going to do her best to repair their relationship. It didn't matter if she ended up hurting herself a lot in the process, she would be there for her son, no matter what. What Kushina didn't know was that her husband was having similar thoughts back in his office. So she wasn't going to be the only one trying her best to make amends to Naruto. They didn't know, sadly, that the son who they are to forgive have died 3 years ago on his birthday and was replaced by other. The boy who cannot forgive them, as there's nothing to forgive. They didn't neglect him, and he's used to pain and betrayal. I'm sorry, Tusama. I'm sorry, Akasama. You don't know I was not your son. It's unfair to him. And I prefer you sad but living to your death. Until Mito and Menma were friends with Kurama and the seal is no longer needed, I cannot love you unless I want you to die. Naruto, stop dreaming and serve the customers. AM called him, running after the child who's trying to crawl over the fire. Sama-kun, it's not good to play with fire. She picked up the giggling child. Okay, Ni-chan. What's your order for today, Akamichi-sama? He walked to their meeting place, the same dead route that he had emerged from 7 years prior. 7 years or no human contact, interaction, socialization, no friends, no bonds. He felt really dead. It was in those 7 years that he truly realized he was alone. But it wouldn't be that way for long, that is what he told herself every day. Every day, for the first 4 years or so. But after a while, he stopped, he wondered, and he realized. Was it really such a good idea to go back into the past and behave as if nothing was wrong? Behave like he had any other time, as though he hadn't just met his friends for the second time. No, they will not be his friends. He lost his friends long ago, he reasoned. Even if they looked the same, even if they acted the same, they were not the people he had come to befriend. The people he made bonds with, the people he belonged with, were long dead. Making friends with their less mature lookalikes wouldn't stop the pain. It would only increase it and make Naruto realize exactly how empty he was. He was going back to fix things. To change this bleak future into one where everyone was alive and smiling. But he was going to be alone, again. Over the course of the 7 years he had been training, he had plenty of time to think about what he would do with this gift. Many scenarios went through his head, but each time he found himself yearning for outside input. Input that no one could give because he was the last living person on the planet. He walked up to the meeting spot and saw the Sennin sitting floating in his normal position. He was staring at a seal of intricate design on the floor. That must be it, he thought silently. Alright, child. This is it. Before we begin, there is some information I must divulge to you. I really tried to make this as flawless as possible, but there is a chance, very, very minor chance, that you might cross dimensions itself. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I am warning you beforehand. The chances are less than 0.5%, but you have to be prepared for anything. Alright, Sennin-sama. But even if I go back, they'll never be my friends I grew up and made bonds with. He said, his voice raspy from continued disuse. I do hope that they'd be same, but they won't live through the same experiences my friends have, so anywhere I go I'll be a stranger in familiar place. And I'll save them even if it costs my life. It's all that matters. The sage sighed and hoped that this time the child might keep his promise. Alright, Naruto, I am transferring my entire chakra into your body. Doing this, there might be a chance of awakening Ender's gift. As you are of Asura's bloodline, chances are low. This is the last chance for humanity, Naruto, so don't fuck this up. Now stand inside the array. He stepped inside the array, and everything within the diagram circumference began to glow. Naruto sent a small look at the Sennin. What will happen to you? Hagoromo closed his eyes and his head tilted forward slightly. I need not reiterate what you already know. Do what you must, child of prophecy, and be wary. I have helped you as much as I can, for it is now up to you. His eyes opened with sudden force, and golden light replaced his normally amaranthine orbs. He put both his hands on Naruto's shoulders, and he felt the sage's power filling his entire body. Do not let preconceptions force you to ignore a dream, for they often hold more truth than the reality. Those were the last words that were spoken before the blonde found himself at the mercy of time and space, as he felt every fiber of his being torn to shreds. Naruto's conscience drifted, and he struggled to maintain coherent thought. The urge of slumber, the lull and beckoning of the welcoming darkness tugged at his consciousness. Was he even awake? He paid no particular heed to his surroundings. He felt a comfortable lethargy settle upon his mind. But wait, wasn't he supposed to do something? Ah, yes, he was going back in time. He was going back in time, to what? What for again? He wanted to simply stay adrift, bathed in this comfortable light. His eyes snapped open. He had to change the past, the future. Otherwise, everyone, all of his friends would die. They would all perish, and the burden would all on his shoulders. Friends, his friends. Naruto shook his head. No, his friends were gone. His family was gone. The people he had created bonds with were gone, never to come back. No matter who he encounters in this trek through time, they would be entirely different people. He would never again see the people he had come to love and cherish with every fiber of his being, for their existences were wiped from all but his memories. The moment Naruto chose to travel back in time, his bid farewell to seeing his old friends. But that did not mean that he wouldn't be able to make new bonds. His friends lived through different pains, different scenarios, different losses. He would ensure that, this time around, none of his most precious people would have to go through the pain that they experienced before. Not while he had the power to change their fate. When Naruto awoke, he felt his entire body cry in protest. Blood was leaking continuously from his face, and he continued to feel half of the bones in his body were cracked. The right half of his face is completely numb, and there were numerous cuts littering his body. Weird thing is that none of those cuts are healing as fast as they should, as if his eyes widened in fear and shock. Kurama, he called hopelessly inside his mind. Kurama, are you there? Please, I can't lose you. Please. He wailed inside his mind. Thinking that he inhibited other body, he searched for a reflection. Looking around, he was in a bar, and the calendar showed the date to be 10th of October. Spotting a washroom, he ran inside and climbed up to see his reflection. The face that greeted him made him Kushonic with shock for a few moments. Raising his shivering hands, he touched his face and moved it slowly towards the mirror. The right half of his face suffered second-degree burns except for his eyes. His left eye was swollen and has few cuts. But the most dangerous one was one which extended from mouth to ear. He knew somehow that the right half would have the same appearance if it's not burned. Hatred and anger filled his mind, and for the first time he wanted to kill those bastards. Chakra pooled into his eyes and his reflection looked back at him with a fully mature 3-tomo Sharingan. Naruto was jerked out of his sleep by blaring sound of his alarm clock. Taking few breaths to calm down his nerves, he pushed back those memories to the back of his head. Less than 0.5%, Sage's wrinkled ass. Both of them happened on that night. He was now in other universe and his Sharingan was activated on the first night he's here. He was not particularly proud of what he did that night, but he didn't regret even 1 second of it. Jumping out of his bed, he cleaned up the room, rearranged the bed and brushed his teeth. He created a shadow clone to cook meals and arranged the baby bag for Sama. He ran towards the baby who just started to wake up and made his presence known by wailing at the top of his lungs. Naruto picked him up and started rocking him forward and backwards soothingly. "Shh Sama-kun, your Nai-chan is here. Calm down, he said gently. The kid stopped crying as he removed his diaper. Naruto was hit by pungent smell. "Arg Sama-kun, what did Ayane feed you after I go to academy? How can someone so small poop so much?" he complained. "Come on Sama-kun. Let's take a bath." Filling the entire tub with soap bubbles, he checked the temperature and placed the kid after removing his and baby's pajamas. He threw the soiled clothes into a hamper and gently lowered the toddler into the tub. He splashed the water laughing cheerfully as Naruto cleaned the kid thoroughly, laughing as the cheeky brat splashed water on him. The bath took longer than expected and Naruto handed over the kid to a shadow clone. He drained the water, refilled it. He bathed for a few minutes and walked out of the shower to see his breakfast prepared. Sama was dressed in navy blue shirt with grey shorts. His sweat dropped when he saw the words written on the t-shirt with orange coloring. "Back off, I'm pooping." His clones have weird sense of humor. After dressing himself with a white t-shirt with orange spiral on it, a cream-colored hoodie and cargo pants, he ate breakfast and dispelling the clones. There's more than 2 hours left before the academy starts, but there are few things he needed to do. Placing the bento in his bag, he sent a clone to the academy to keep his bag there. He took Sama to the Saratobi compound where a tiny little woman stood at the gate. She has a round, kind, slightly anxious face and dark brown hair drawn back in a messy bun at the back of her head. She looks to be in her late 30s, there are already the beginnings of crow's feet around her eyes, and she has a white apron tied on over her clothes. She squinted at them nearsightedly, somehow managing to give a warm smile through all the squinting. "You're early today, Naruto-kun," she commented, taking Sama from his hands. "Today is the first day of your final year at the academy, isn't it, Naruto-kun? I hope you do well. Hiruzen Sama requested you to meet him when you arrive." "Thank you, Ayane. Did you know what he wanted to talk about?" Aya shook her head. "No, Naruto-kun. He didn't tell me anything. Just to send you to the parlor when you're here," she replied. Shrugging slightly, he jogged through the gravel path and reached a traditional Japanese home. At Genkin, he removed his shinobi sandals and placed them on the shoe closet. A faint bitter smell of tea leaves with hint of something he recognized. "Gigi must be preparing for my interrogation," he thought wryly. It is an herb used for making a person tell nothing but truth on consumption for few minutes. It is completely tasteless but produces slight odor. Carefully he walked on the tatami floor. He reached the room where Hiruzen is sitting in front of a daisu and row on zabuton. There's another zabuton laid on the opposite side for him to sit on. "Pardon me, Saratobi-sama. I'm not appropriately dressed for such. He bowed down slightly. "I was the one who didn't inform you beforehand, Naruto-kun. So pardon me. And please sit down," Hiruzen instructed. Naruto bowed again and Hiruzen imitated him. A silk cloth was laid in front of him with chaki, teacup and plate with wood chopsticks, and chikasu, tea scoop. Both of them folded the silk cloth in 2 triangles and used the cloth to clean the cup and scoop in very precise moments. After cleaning, Hiruzen pushed a bowl of sweets in the middle. "Please have some sweets, Naruto-san," he said, picking a sweet from the bowl and placed it on the plate. He wiped the chopsticks with the cloth. After they both ate sweets, Hiruzen took the bowl in front of Naruto and said calmly, "I would like to serve you a bowl of tea," he said, carefully pouring the powder and boiling water into the bowl. He repeated the same steps to his bowl and placed it back in front of him. "Thank you for the tea, Saratobi-sama." After drinking the entire bowl, Naruto raised his head and asked, "Not that I'm complaining, Gigi. But why am I here?" Naruto asked as the ceremony is over officially completed. "You surely didn't call me to share a cup of tea." "Naruto-kun, I want to know what really happened last year," he asked calmly. "Please don't lie about it. I'm not an idiot. I trained you myself and knew you better than anyone. What really happened? Naruto sighed slightly. So he didn't believe me completely, huh? He thought wryly. But he'll now. After all, he didn't know I'm immunity to all poisons and drugs known in Hai no Kuni. I'm not lying, Jiji. Yes, I understood that you're asking about my kidnapping. He said, looking into his eyes, keeping his tone even. I may omit few details, but deliberately never told you any lies, Jiji. First stage of interrogation. Look for signs of abnormal behavior. If a person is lying, he'll never look straight into your eyes. He raises or lowers his voice. He denies knowledge or try to convince overtly you his innocence. Passes Hiruzen thought, irritated. Lem check if he made up the story or it's truth. Okay, Naruto-kun, can you describe the day for me, please? He asked, keeping his irritation at bay. Naruto suppressed a raising of right eyebrow and raised his left one. It's Friday evening and Academy was released at 3 in the evening. I sent a clone to Ichirikus and went to Mito-san for training. Learned that he's out on mission, you two are busy in council meeting on that day. So I went to training ground 3 to practice my taijutsu. Using a large kunai-shaped rock as a checkpoint, I started running laps over the training ground. Then Yamino-sensei came to me and requested me to follow him. I discreetly checked his chakra and it came out positive. Enma-sama ordered me not to use senjutsu more than 3 hours per day. I practiced senjutsu for 2 hours in the morning. I should have checked his presence and I paid for it in scars. According to Yamanaka's, our brain is divided into 2 portions. For those who are right-handed, left half of the brain is visual cortex and the right half is the creative cortex. If a person is asked to describe a scene he has viewed, he'd raise his left eye to visualize the place and speak about it. If he raises his right eye, he was clearly creating the place in his mind. Hiruzen mused. Wonder who taught him that tidbit. And how on earth is he immune to valerian root mixture, I never know. Well, time to pull out the big guns. He then pulled out a black-colored book with symbol of 4 lines, 2 parallel to each other on it. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly as Hiruzen hummed and turned the pages of the book, which he clearly understood as Bingo Book of Kurigakure. On closer observation, the published date printed on it was just 2 months shy of Mizukage's supposed assassination. What the hell are you trying to pull, old man? Hiruzen then closed the book and then pushed it towards him. Please open the book to page 69, Naruto-kun. He requested. Naruto raised his eyebrows and turned to the page specified. Jiji has habit of showing him recent powerful shinobi from recent bingo books and usually asks him to formulate strategies from the info in the book. Well, I never knew that this book has been printed. Probably wasn't distributed because of end of civil war. Who might it be? He wondered. His eyes nearly widened in shock as he saw the photo on the bingo book. It was a side profile of a hooded child with a mask covering his lower half of his face. His body was entirely covered in a shimmering black cloak. It was the photo from the infiltration mission which he collected Yugura's along with Sanbi's chakra to design a seal with which he broke the baby-faced cage from Obito's control. If not for the BM staff gifted to him by Enma, the boss summon that he carried everywhere in that photo, he would have gotten away with it. But now he has to confess at least partially something about his tryst in Mizu. He must have taken lot of time as Jiji took the book from his hands. You must have caught some cold, Naruto-kun. As you didn't say anything. Lem read the stats. Name? Currently unknown. Alias? Shinigami no Sankeke Genka, Shinigami of 3 bloodlines, Kaimakuna Rick no Kiri Hank, Merciless Dragon of Kiri Rebellion. Age? Estimated below 10. Rank? High A rank, probably low S rank, Elite Jnin. Field partner? Terum plus May, leader of terrorists. Affiliation? Kurigakure bloodline terrorists. Nada kills. Ichido Dekuro, high A rank Jnin. Haritachi Samiwa, high A rank Jnin. Souhin Nagurasum, mid A rank Jnin, assisted. Souhin Tanaka, mid A ranked Akubetsu Jnin. Mission record, undetermined D ranks, undetermined C ranks, undetermined B ranks, undetermined A ranks, undetermined S ranks. Description, face unknown, lithe body structure with a height of approximately 131 centimeters. His chakra was his beacon, which is as cold as glacier. Criminal data, destroyed an entire village of Tachibana, killing the entire population of the one as his initiation into the bloodline terrorists. Children of that city was unaccounted for, most likely brainwashed to serve under those terrorists. Stole important information from Cage Tower and is the most dangerous asset for the bloodline terrorists. Least merciless of those scum, Shinigami was the partner of those criminals' leader and their spy master. Never engaged this shinobi unless with at least dozen high A rank Jnins. Flee on sight. Noted skill specialization, Sealess Jutsu. Wind, water and lightning up to B rank jutsus. Even for those above B ranked ones, that number of hand seals are cut at least by half. Known to be able to use even one-handed seals. 3 Kekkei Genkai ice release, lava release and boil release. Able to use any weapon but was partial to Genjutsu, high A class. Can fight toe-to-toe in Kenjutsu against one of the 7 swordsmen of Bloody Mist, high A class. Above average medical skills, high B rank, and excellent ninjutsu specialist, mid-A rank. Stealth specialist, can infiltrate even Cage Tower, and only reason he's seen is because he was there to assassinate Mizukage, but was chased off by him. Has enough knowledge of Kenjutsu to use in field. Extent unknown. Bounty, alive. 75 million Ryo. Dead. 60 million Ryo. One hell of track record ain't it, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen said, lighting his pipe. I think I saw that staff on his back somewhere. Where did I see it? He said, putting on some ridiculous thinking posture. Isn't it the staff given to you by Enma when you started Senjutsu training with him? Naruto didn't say anything and just sat silently sipping his tea with his bangs covering his eyes. I thought that you might have run off the village unable to bear the hatred or might have gone to collect information. Hell, even if you've decided to run away from the village, I'd have felt better and would have made sure that you are not classified as missing nin as you didn't complete the academy. But Hiruzen took a deep breath to control his breathing and set his pipe down. Out of all things you've done, you choose to go to Kurigakure no Sato to fight in fucking bloodline war. He said, trying to hold back his tears. What if something happened to you? What if you are injured, hurt, or God forbid killed? I lost one of my sons and other left me all alone to be one of the 12 guardians of fire, leaving me with my grandsons, Naruto. I lost my wife to Kikbi and saw my daughter-in-law lay her life down to protect Konohamaru from assassins. I think you as my own Naruto. You mean to me as much Konohamaru and now Sauma does. These old bones cannot take another loss, Naruto-kun. I know you are a reasonable kid. He shouted. So the truth now. All right, Jai-san. I'll tell the truth. He started. It actually was true that my entry into the civil war was through that village. It started with me and Tucci-san going to that town to buy supplies. The herbs he needed for his new recipe is present there. I really never wanted to join Kiri resistance or anything, but something that happened on that day set off my patience and well, I have time, so hear about my introduction into the rebels. It has been 6 hours since Tucci and Naruto reached the village of Tachibana. It was a normal village with population less than 500 members. Tucci left Naruto at the inn to bargain prices with local dealer and he decided to take a nap. He regretted it when he was rudely wakened by splash of water to his face. Damn it, Jai-san. He cursed the laughing man. You got my mask wet. He glared at the man who looked more jovial and happy than usual. Hated that thing anyway, kid. Why on earth do you cover your face 24/7? I never know. Hope I may see it one day. But enough of that, we're lucky to buy goods at this time. It seems that few monsters have been caught by the shinobis here, so they gave us 50% discount. Their execution was scheduled at 6 in the evening and the village was overjoyed. They invited us to join their celebration. Sounds interesting. Our caravan leaves at 8 and I'm bored and have nothing better to do. So why not? They were joined by an old woman who's the keeper of the inn they are staying in. She was a short knobby old woman with gentle smiling face, which were filled with wrinkles that came with age. I'm just super excited to see those monsters get what they deserve. She admitted to Tucci. I lost my husband and all of my children when those bastards came to the village I used to live in and slaughtered them all. She shook her head as memories entered her mind. She resisted the urge to cry and let a smile develop on her face. I don't know why I stayed alive. I guess it was so that way I could live long enough to see all those monsters die. That's what they get for killing so many innocent people. That's what they get for killing my family. That's the day I'll never forget, Gigi. If instead of going out to the celebration and if I just stayed in the hotel, I would have never known the real depths of human depravity. Naruto said, his eyes clouded as if he is reminiscing about something terrible. But mostly I learned the monster that hid within me. The monster I was capable of being. That woman, Gigi, is around your age and was so cordial and kind-hearted throughout our stay in that place. Did you know what happened to her? Hiruzen looked disturbed at the emotionless voice which his pseudo-grandson spoke in and shivered. Naruto opened his eyes and looked at him straight in his eye, and this time Hiruzen shivered visibly, looking at the eyes which lost all traces of emotions and looked like hardened sapphires. I'm sorry for your loss. Tucci said in soft tone. Losing your family and being all lonely sounds like hell on earth. Hope your family find peace in afterlife, knowing that other person will never harm another person. They proceeded to walk through the alleyway they were in. After making their way to the other end, they entered a large square. They were apparently now in the center of the village. Both noticed something in particular in the square. On one of the buildings was a large black screen. There was nothing visible on it at the moment, but it seemed as if something would be later. They were both confused. They turned their attention to one of the passers-by. A young man with no hair. Do you know what that is? Naruto asked him. You're here for the celebration in the evening, right guys? The man questioned. Both Tucci and Naruto nodded, causing him to chuckle. Well, you're in for a treat then. It's going to be taking place here, and that thing up there is where the magic will start. Really? Naruto's eyes widened in response. How? You'll find out, kid. Just enjoy the show tomorrow. It's at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so make sure you're here. The man replied with a chuckle. The man proceeded to walk away after answering the question, leaving both of them confused and concerned. After waiting for an hour, the screen on one of the buildings lit up. All eyes were focused in on the screen. The screen displayed an image of a man in his 40s. He had long, unkempt brown hair that went to his neck and had similarly colored brown eyes. He wore a black skin-tight, sleeveless guy and wore dark blue pants. On his guy were 2 pockets that had scrolls sticking out of them. Around his neck was a Kurigakure forehead protector. That's him. That's Amiwa. The old woman explained. He is one who is carrying out the noble mission of eliminating those filths from the face of earth. He is also cousin of our Mizukage. On hearing those words, Naruto then remembered that still civil war is going on in Kiri and felt heavy stone drop at the bottom of his stomach. He hoped his fears will not become a reality. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Tachibana. I trust you all have been having a good day. Just like I have. The man, Samiwa, asked from the screen. People across the square cheered loudly in response. There was a pause in the video, as if he predicted there would be a loud applause. The video then started to play again. As you all know, my name is Samiwa and I assume you all know precisely why I'm here. I'll be down at the square in just a few moments, but before we begin, I think you all should meet the pieces of shit we're going to watch die today. Samiwa walked backwards and revealed 4 figures that were tied up behind him. Each of them had chakra-suppressing seals on their foreheads. It was hard to really identify anything about the 5, except for some general comments about their appearances. One was a bald man with scars running down his face. The second was a woman with short brown hair. The third was a man with short black hair, but also had feminine features on his face. The fourth was a young girl with long white hair that went to her back. There's a little girl there. Tucci gasped. Their companion's eyes narrowed in hatred and she spoke. A little girl. She's nothing more than a monster who if allowed to grow up will slaughter everyone indiscriminately. Her eyes glowed with sadistic glee. I wanted to see that demon killed and her head on stake. As if agreeing with her, the audience that was around them started to boo. A few of them were chanting angry phrases that were incomprehensible due to the sheer volume and anger in their voices. A few phrases, however, stood out. Kill them. Set that girl on fire. I want to see that bold guy's head on a stake. What the fuck? Tucci's eyes were wide. How can they say this crap? They didn't even do anything for fuck's sake. Jai-san. Naruto held his hand in tight grip, fingers digging into his skin. Please do refrain from saying anything. This crowd wanted them to die, so anything we say will be lost on them. He said calmly, dragging him out of the crowd. They stood at the distance where they could see everything. Tucci started to say something, but refrained when dark red eyes looked at him, displaying the hatred on the proceedings. So let's start introducing you to these lovely people, don't you think? Samiwa questioned the audience as he walked over to the bald man. So, you're Kenshin, right? Of the Himo clan. The clan that has a Kekkei Genkai that allows you to manipulate other people's blood. I've heard that if somebody went against somebody of your clan, you could drain their entire body of all their blood if they had even one open cut for you to take advantage of. The executioner then got into the man's face. Don't you wish you could do that to me now? Drain me of all my blood? Kill me? Cause I know your clan was particularly bloodthirsty. Killed many of innocent people. My clan only killed when ordered by the Mizukage. The man, Kenshin, replied with a grunt. We were a loyal clan to Kurigakure. Always had been. Loyal, huh? Funny. Yugura-sama knew just how loyal you piece of shits were. Your clan was caught planning a coup long before those fucking rebels tried anything. Samiwa exclaimed. That's a lie, Kenshin was about to say before Samiwa pulled out a kunai knife and stabbed the man in his shoulder. Ah. I don't approve of liars, asshole. Samiwa hissed as he dug the knife deeper into the man, causing him to scream more. The audience started to cheer even louder as the screaming grew louder. Tucci was now looking very pale. This is wrong, he mumbled to herself. Anyway, let's move on, Samiwa said. The executioner then walked over to the woman with the brown hair. Ha. You're Kamuri Kimiko. You are one of those fucking smoke assholes that burned Kaibo village to the ground. I didn't do anything. I promise. The woman, Kimiko, pleaded to the man. She was in tears. Please, believe me. Stop fucking lying. Samiwa screamed as he stabbed her with his kunai knife in the arm. She screamed in pain, which only caused him to go deeper. I saw you bastards destroy my family. I think it's only fitting that I finally get to some revenge on you. Samiwa eventually stopped torturing the woman and moved on to the next person, the feminine-looking man with short black hair. And you are one of those ice release Yuki clan shinobi. Daisuke was your name, right? He asked. The black-haired man, Daisuke, gave no response. This prompted Samiwa to punch him in the face. Tucci winced at watching the action and tears started falling from his eyes. Speak when addressed. The executioner ordered. I have nothing to say to you. Daisuke spoke with anger. Your death will be slow. I'll make sure of that. Sumiwa grinned as he then moved over to the final person in the room, the little girl. And here we have sweet Kagaya Mary. How old are you? Be 8. The girl, Mary, answered quietly. The word was mixed in with sobs. 8, huh? You must have been born around the time the rest of your clan was slaughtered by Yagura's troops because they tried to attack the villages in Mizu no Kuni. That was a great day. We got to rid the world of your evil clan. The executioner noted. A sadistic grin developed on his face as he noticed the little girl's sobbing intensify. Why so sad? Were mommy and daddy killed that day? He received a small nod in affirmation, causing his grin to develop further. Are you ready to meet them? Cause you'll be spending the rest of eternity in hell with them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 4 pieces of shit that are going to die today. Sumiwa stated. He turned his attention away from Mary and looked back forwards, as if he was addressing the audience. Today they'll feel our pain and they'll be hung tomorrow morning. Now we'll come in. The crowd began cheering loudly. Sumiwa, noticing the cheering, grinned as he made a gesture with his left hand in an attempt to pump up the crowd further. They responded back with more cheering. Immediately, the video stopped playing. On cue, a large cyclone fell down from the sky and into the center of the square. Civilians that were standing around the area moved away to avoid getting hit. Everybody stared intently at the center. When the cyclone vanished, a group of individuals were present now in the center of the village. Tied up and unable to move were the 5 hostages. Kenshin, Kimiko, Daisuke, and Mary. Surrounding them were a group of masked Kurigakure shinobi. Standing in the front of the group was Sumiwa. The man was wearing the same attire as he had in the video. The only difference, however, was that he was now holding a large axe in his right hand that he was holding up with no effort. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the little video I had planned. Sumiwa spoke to the crowd. He received cheering, giving him his answer. His grin seemed to widen. Good. Very good. Then, why waste any time? Let's get right to work. Let's make this a slow, fun process. Unable to watch anymore, Tucci walked back to the inn. Wanna know what ran in my mind at that moment, Gigi? Naruto said coldly. That moment I decided that no one will see the light of another day. He looked at him with red eyes, pinwheels rotating lazily in them. I did that exactly. Gave Tucci-san a slip and freed the hostages. There's a bit with Kenjutsu and everyone who wished for death are killed. Frankly speaking, they are tortured and well burned alive. Amaterasu was a good inspiration for that fire. Each and every one of the village burned 7 days and 7 nights before they died. I created a seal in such a way to ensure they didn't die before that. All those below 15 years were spared. As I wore a black cloak and killed mercilessly, I was called Shinigami, and seals made it possible to use bloodline elements. Rebels found me and rest is history. Naruto, he started calmly. Gigi, I am really sorry for not telling you the truth and ran off to other place. But I don't regret any of my actions. He said, bowing down. My lapse of self-control didn't happen again and I saved many innocent people. So can I do anything more for you? Hiruzen looked sad his confession and relighted his pipe. I tried to protect you from horrors of war, Naruto. But it seems I'm unsuccessful. Can you promise me to make friends again, Naruto-kun? He raised his hands to silence any protests. I know what you have experienced, Naruto. I know you spend a lot of time near that cemetery. But now you are strong enough. You promised me to make friends when you are strong enough, didn't you? Fulfill that. He ordered. Gigi, he started. No excuses, Naruto-kun. By the end of year try to bring at least 5 friends, he stated. And that is an order. Academy starts in 2 hours. Do you want to stay till then? No, Gigi. I have to go. He said. Thank you for your hospitality. He bowed and walked out. In the most famous flower shop of Konohagakure no Sato, Yamanaka Flowers, a light blonde-haired girl, sat reading a fashion magazine. She has a beautiful heart-shaped face, long platinum blonde hair, blue-gray almond-shaped eyes and pouty lips. She's currently wearing light orange color t-shirt with gray shorts and was humming quietly to herself. The Yamanaka flower shop had 4 kinds of customers, the ninja here for the rare poisons her father didn't let her anywhere near, the gardeners that knew exactly what they were here for, the husband here to pick up their weekly tribute for their wives. And then there was Ino's favorite customer, the lost boy looking for a flower to impress the girl he liked. It was always so romantic seeing those boys go out of their way to impress the girl they liked. Ino sighed wistfully into the bouquet of yellow daffodils she had been preparing for a local businessman that was a few days late for his anniversary. I wish Menma would bring me flowers someday, I bet he wouldn't forget our anniversary. Not that they had an anniversary, he had gone so far as to turn her down every time she asked him out. Not that she was alone in that endeavor, he had turned down every girl that had asked him on a date gently. He's so cute and polite. Not like the asshole of his brother who could freeze even hellfire with a look. She thought darkly. There's no way in hell any asshole like him would get a girl to love him under any circumstances. If they did, I pity those girls. In several other universes, many girls sneezed with Ino among them. She completed her work for the day, but her mother ordered her to look over the shop till she comes back. There's only 1 hour 40 minutes before academy starts and I wanna look beautiful for my Menma-kun. She wailed internally. Hope mama comes back sooner. Her thoughts were interrupted by chiming of the doorbell signaled the arrival of the customer. Hello. Ino greeted, bouncing off the countertop and onto her feet, she put on her best customer service smile. What can I owe? It's you. Her smile vanished and she folded her arms across her chest. What the hell are you doing here? She shouted on seeing the asshole brother of her crush. Taking a deep breath, Naruto pinched his nose. Remembering his promise with Jiji, he put aside his inner Sasuke and replied calmly. Good morning Yamanaka-san. I'm here to buy some flowers. So who's the unlucky person you are giving flowers to? She asked as he's not being himself. May I'll know it by tomorrow. It's for a friend, Yamanaka-san. Please could you hurry up? I'm already late in seeing her. He said keeping his temper at her immature attitude. She's just immature. He mumbled under his breath. Must be for that tomboy foo. She pretends to be friendly but still a backstabbing bitch. I mean who makes friends with that ice princess Mito and you of all persons except to get close to Menma-kun. She mumbled but Naruto clearly heard it. At least she's not a waste of space like you Yamanaka. He said his eyes hardening slightly. His tone didn't raise but Ino felt chills running up her spine. Her mind registered his words but she couldn't shake her fear for nearly a minute. Who the hell did you think you are? She shouted. You are a friendless, talentless, cold-hearted asshole who'll amount to nothing. Your parents threw you out because you are a disgrace to their family. And, shut up. He ordered, for first time malice coloring his tone. You said what everyone thinks about me didn't ya? Lem tell you what a real kunoichi, not those stupid Chunin level ones, the Junin level ones like Mitrashi Anko, Uzumaki Kushina, Mikoto Uchiha, Kuranaiki, Ikgao Yuzuki, Tsunade Senju, hell even your own mother think when they look at you step out of the counter. He ordered. Ino walked out of the counter before the words are registered in her mind, her legs shivering at his voice. Mama where are you? She cried scared at the gaze of the boy in front of him. He grinned maliciously looking up to her as she's slightly taller. My what do we have here? Ah, a new academy student. Academy student might be an insult, I guess. He placed a finger under her chin looking up and down at her. It's not a look of a pervert. Ino recognized. It's look of disdain when the scientist is given a faulty specimen. My, what a good chakra control. He said as if it were an insult. Not surprising as she has chakra pool of 8-year-old child with body of 11 years as one, albeit an anorexic one. Ino lowered her head in embarrassment, not even able to summon anger at his words. Bet you 1,000 ryo that she'd suffer severe chakra exhaustion after using a C-rank jutsu she mastered 5 times. No, it may be 4 times. What a soft hand these are. Did she have advanced healing abilities? Not possible looking at those measly chakra reserves. No scars too skipping out Tai and shuriken jutsu training huh? He said coldly. Non-dexterous fingers. He wondered as he twisted her fingers, making her cry out in pain. Never bothered to practice ninjutsu except for clan jutsu I bet. Boy, she's Yamanaka Inoichi and Benton's daughter it seems. Damn my respect for them went down few notches. I think Benton must have tried to curb her tendencies. That's the only reason she might be working here in this dirt. Ino's anger flared. But he's right. Without her mother's persuasion she'd never have set a foot in this place. She tried to speak but he rolled over her. But I think Inoichi spoiled her too much. Why on earth is he once head of T and I never know if his own daughter is this way. A spoiled bratty little bitch. He might have never said no to this girl in her entire life if I'm not mistaken. He said venomously. Ino is now crying openly. Yes, her father always indulged her. Be it shopping, her dieting or her infatuation for Menma-kun or anything. Only thing he asked is to be friendly with Shikamaru and Chimjai. And looking back she treated them like subordinates instead of friends. Shika has to be forced to be in her presence and Chimjai tolerated her silently. She tried to beg him to stop but he continued uncaringly. My what a long beautiful hair. He said fisting it and buried his nose in it. Good conditioners and smelling shampoos are used. Looks like it had been taken care of well. Before she could comprehend, he was suddenly behind her and placed a hand on her neck and pulled back her hair strongly. Wonder if I need a kunai to her throat to kill her or just a good pull to snap the neck, he said applying a little bit pressure. Tears appearance in her eyes as she tried to escape. Scoffing at her attempt, he released her and pushed her away. She stumbled before righting herself with the counter. Any enemy worth his salt would find you in a moment just by the smell of your shampoo. He squeezed her bicep making her whimper in pain. Is this really a body of Kunoichi in training? I've seen patients with anorexia stronger than this. If this is the future of Kunoichi from Konohagakure no Sado, I'd say we're doomed. To sum it up, you're a useless anorexic fangirl who'd be dead weight to her team. A spoiled bitchy princess wannabe who most likely will get her team killed because she spent her time stalking her love. He spat that word as if it's a poison instead of training seriously. They'll have to risk their lives to protect you because you wasted your time dreaming about Menma-kun. If they fail, the best case is that you too will be killed with them. Wanna know the worst one? Information will be extracted from you and you'll be forced into the brothel. A place where men twice, sometimes thrice and maybe more times older than you will force their semen into your little body the rest of your life. Many people love that after all. In that place you'll die knowing your prince in shining armor will never come. At this point that only good thing about you in this wretched life is that you are heir to Yamanaka and Gossip Queen. Gossip Queen isn't a good point those. Who knows when you babble out a village secret. Just fucking grow up Yamanaka. He growled out. The shop was completely silent except for sobs of a girl. Naruto looked impassive but on close observation, you could see that he too was really distressed. Benton-Abe-san. Come here. I know you're there he said calmly. Ino looked tear-stricken as she saw her mother who walked in. Benton was a beautiful lady with light blonde hair and blue-gray eyes. With sharp royal features and air of regality around her, it is clear where Ino got her beauty from. She wore a dark gray work kimono covering her teacup, large hips and small waist. She also wore with black shirt, brown pants with shinobi sandals. How long are you here, mama? Ino asked meekly. From the moment I entered the shop, she's here, Yamanaka-san Naruto replied in a resigned tone. I am sorry Benton-Abe-san. And I'd understand if you don't want me to be here again. But please is my order ready? I'll pay even thrice the price. Ino for just one moment wished that her mother would kick Naruto out of the shop. But she kneeled down and held his face in her dainty hands. She kissed his forehead and smiled at him lovingly it's on the house, Naruto-kun. And you didn't start the argument. And you were always welcome here Naruto-kun. Naruto looked at her tearfully and hugged her. Few moments later, Benton released herself gently from his embrace and entered her room. She came out with bouquet filled with asphodels and there's a single red rose in it. Ino's eyes widened in disbelief and shame hit her hard when she understood the meaning of the bouquet. Naruto placed few Ryo bills even when Benton protested and nearly ran out with the bouquet. Wait Naruto-kun. Here's your money. But I need you to do me a favor. Ino's in your class right? Give it to Iruka-sensei if Ino comes late to the class. She handed him a letter. Do this and consider your bill is paid. But the Sai Minato started once again working in his paperwork. Now well normally it was something Minato hated with passion, this time he found it distracting enough. Something that would made him forget a little about the entire problem he now had. It has been years since he talked with Naruto in the hospital, but they're nowhere getting close to him. Menma and Mito said that Naruto usually came to classes and slept whenever they walked near him. Not surprising as he does sleep or give cold shoulder whenever anyone tries to talk to him except for 2 to 3 students. On seeing that his face was uncovered, he looked eerily similar to Menma and they tried to befriend him. He simply rebutted their offer for friendship. Going to the Chiraku ramen stall was not productive at all. He left shadow clones there and trained somewhere else. He really doesn't want to go to Sandaime-sama. Log knows how a man cherished as Kami no Shinobi will react to his presence. He rounded up all the bastards who tortured his child, but funniest thing is that nearly all of them except for very few were sent to Orochimaru as lab rats 2 years ago. No doubt, definitely Hiruzen's work. And all of them are bought and brain dead, no better than a vegetable. The Jinchuriki of Nanabe-fu didn't know where he lives either, and he's her best friend. He decided to use the crystal ball used by Hiruzen to watch this year to be graduation class, as it is only time he could watch his estranged son Naruto. He recalled that Hiyashi's eldest daughter was starting the academy this year and was placed in his son's class. That struck up Haika didn't want his daughter to attend the academy. He pawned her off to Kuranaiki after disinheriting her. He further made it sure that she won't attend academy by not giving up his rights on her till she's 10 last year. Hiyashi once wanted his daughter to enter the academy and if she is weak, he'd have her branded with cursed seal. All those plans went to hell 2 years ago when an unknown assailant brought the entire clan to its knees and killed half of the main house and cut off the hands of few of the remaining members, shaving off their hair excluding the children, but not before forcing them to erase the cursed seal. He was a criminal under the law as he killed Konoha Shinobi, but if he's caught Minato will make sure that he will go unpunished, even if he was to go against the entire clan. The Haika clan was protected by all cages of Konohagakure no Sado, as one condition they were to join Konoha was that no kage or daimyo shouldn't interfere with the clan matters. The act of enslaving their own family was despicable by any standards. The main house didn't say anything about the assailant, but the branch family ones called him a god among humans. He challenged the entire clan and crushed them like bugs using just jutsu. The remaining details were not revealed to outsiders, but the description of the man was made public. He is tall and pale-skinned man with hairless brow ridges and white hair reaching his waist. His bangs were short, hung to left side of his face with a chin-length lock which hung from the right side of his face. He also had small horn-like protrusions on his forehead. He wore a light full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 black magatama around a high collar and dark pants. He had his sword in its sheath strapped to his left hip. His eyes were dark brown and he has a tattoo of dark crescent moon on his left hand. There was no facial match of the man in entire elemental nations and the clan claimed that he is not using henge. Well, there are many different types to hide from Byakugan, so can't say it's his real form though. Usually no students are allowed into academy above 9 years old, but Kurenai begged him to allow Hinata to be admitted into the academy as she's a good kunoichi if shy. Minato without any hesitation signed the required documents which were taken by the tearful but thankful kunoichi. The Ashi tried to block her, but it is useless. He signed off the clan rights along with his own on her under Jinjutsu developed by Kurenai which she developed against Byakugan users. This made Hinata a clan member just by name and if she wanted she could change it. The clan leaders were left frothing at mouths but unable to do anything, left the council calmly. Using Hiraishin, he flashed home leaving a shadow clone to complete his paperwork for today. Kushina would love to see her son even if it is through the ball. Kushina, he called his lovely wife, after completing the chores. Do you want to watch Naruto in the academy? She raced down the stairs. I already completed the chores, Minato koi. Natsumi-chan is out playing with Konohamaru-kun and Hanabi-chan in Sarutobi compound. So let's see how he is. It has been 3 weeks since they saw the boy. This was the first day of the academy and he can see Naruto clearly. And he could also see his children easily. The ball was activated with a dragon hand seal and he got good look over the classroom. The students were rowdy as usual. With exception of a pale-skinned long-haired beautiful girl, tan-skinned mint-haired girl, brown-haired serene girl and his daughter, every kunoichi in training were flocked around his son Menma, asking him out for dates. He looked like he'd rather be anywhere than here, judging by the look on his face. The pale-skinned girl wore a sleeveless kimono-styled blouse that was dark blue in color and held closed with a black obi over a short-sleeved mesh shirt with a pair of dark blue shorts and brown shinobi sandals. There was a Uchiha symbol on the back of her blouse proclaiming her as an Uchiha clan member. She has heart-shaped face with doe-like eyes and pouty lips. She has sharp nose and was currently looking at the other girls in disdain. This is Satsuki Uchiha, known as Suki to her friends, and the daughter of Fugaku and Makoto Uchiha. The mint-haired girl who was chatting mile a minute with his daughter was Fu. She arrived at the gates of Konoha 2 years ago after being treated as an outcast in her home village Taki. She was content to live freely in the forest and outskirts of her village until the council sent assassins after her. She managed to lose them after many days and reached Konoha. They initially thought she was a spy, but under rigid and advanced mind walks, they saw her life and was surprised how she could still smile after all she experienced. Maybe that's why Naruto could connect with her so freely. She was a petite tan-skinned kunoichi who wore an orange clip in her short layered mint green hair that matched her mischievous lotus petal-shaped eyes, which was also orange. Her outfit consisted of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. The brown-haired girl sat next to Satsuki and was painting something in her sketchbooks. She was once one of the students of Kurenai. The last living main branch member of the Kurama clan, Yakumo, was born with frail body and exceptional ability to mold yin chakra. Her other persona, Ido, frightened Kurenai and she asked him for help. He managed to use a seal which created a symbiotic relationship with the other persona and she was admitted to the academy. She has round face with gentle almond-shaped eyes, thin lips, Roman nose and gentle face. Her hair is straight on one side, but on the other side it is in a braid. In addition, she sports a clip with 2 circular designs. For her outfit she wore a pink kimono held closed by a pink sash with 2 pockets on the front. She also wore violet baggy pants and red mesh armor underneath her kimono, along with sandals that were orange in color. His daughter Mito looks similar to Kushina when she's younger. Waist-length red hair, round cute face, small lips, but inherited his blue eyes. She wore clothes similar to her friend Satsuki, except for different colors. She wore a sleeveless kimono-styled blouse that was yellow in color and held closed with a black obi over a short-sleeved mesh shirt with a pair of cream-colored shorts and brown shinobi sandals. There was spiral symbol on the back of her blouse proclaiming her as an Uzumaki clan member. All 4 of them sat near the corner of the room. Hated by remaining girls in the class and distant towards the boys because they turned down the offers for dates, they are known as next coming of Ice Queens of Konoha or simply Ice Princesses. As far as Minato knew, they were the only kunoichi in the graduating class who took their roles as kunoichi seriously. Even if they toughened the academy syllabus, it seems impossible to get rid of fangirl epidemic. Naruto was nowhere to be seen as he usually arrives few seconds before the bell. Kushina took the ball and kicked him out of the room, saying that she'd love to hear what her daughter is speaking and will call him when Naruto-kun arrives. Nah, Suki-chan. Yakumo called her softly. Stop blaring at those girls. Did you complete the homework given to us by Iruka-sensei? Ah yes, Yakumo-chan. Nai-san helped me with my homework and taught me how to perform fireball better. I need to learn another C-rank jutsu to pass, but I have a year to do so. And don't they have any shame? These brainless fangirls the very reason why Kunoichi of our nation are laughing stock in the entire elemental nations. In other nations if the Kunoichi is a fangirl she'd be demoted and stripped of her rank or will be made to undergo remedial training. She growled out when I become the Hokage, I'll pass that law. Just cool down Suki-chan. Fu chirped brightly. They will come around after their first higher C-rank mission. I hope they won't be killed in that mission Asu. Neri-chan says that if they don't get their act together, it's a certainty. I hope they survive. They will see the error of their ways I can be friends with them Asu. How on earth did you manage to get my cold as ice brother as your friend? I never knew Fu-chan. And he is right on that matter though Tsubasa. I hope it doesn't come to that. But he is weak too. That'll be pot calling kettle black. Suki said in matter-of-fact tone. He skips classes, does the bare minimum to pass and never takes anything serious. Mito glared at her while Yakumo-chan shrugged. It is true and it perfectly describes Naruto's behavior in the class, so she couldn't refute that. She thought that Fu might protest, but she sat there without saying anything. Few moments later, she laughed out merrily unable to contain her mirth. Naruto-kun, weak. She laughed out. Those two words should never be used in same sentence unless there's not in between. He is easily the strongest shinobi in our class at least when it comes to sabotage or assassination missions. You know the entirety of Anbu Force, the Inyazuka tracker squads, Haika clan members and finally one of the Densetsu no Sannin, 3 great ninjas, Orochimaru himself tried to track him and failed. It has been going since last year, but yet they didn't know where he lives. You can see Naruto only if he wanted to be seen. It is the mark of an assassin. And he trained in ninjutsu under Sandaime-sama and learned to jutsu under Mito-gai himself. He doesn't bother with the class that's all. The remaining 3 girls are stunned at her words. It is true after all. So why does he hide his skills? All of them thought. Troublesome. A lazy voice drawled out behind them. They turned back to see a boy with narrow brown eyes and a typical expression suggesting he is either bored or irritated. He has shoulder-length black hair tied in a spiky ponytail. His face was slightly round with baby fat and has sharp nose. He is looking at them now in irritation. He wore a short-sleeved grey jacket with green-edged sleeves and the rudimentary Nara clan symbol on the back, under which is a green-lined mesh armor t-shirt with brown shorts. This is Shikamaru Nara, son of Yoshino Nara and Shikaku Nara. He is heir of Nara clan. Can you troublesome girls calm down? Geez I'm trying to sleep here. He said lazily. Shikarat unbilled boy said softly I'm sorry for him. He didn't get enough sleep today and was kicked by Minamoto-san and Haruno-san, trying to get to your brother, Uzumaki-san. So he's slightly cranky. This is Shimjai Akimichi, son of Shimza Akimichi and Chio Akimichi the Akimichi clan heir. He donned a green, short-sleeved haori with a long white scarf over a light green shirt with the kanji for Food SS Shoku on it. He also wore black shorts, hoop earrings, and bandages around his legs and forearms. He had apologetic expression on his face which has red swirls tattooed on them. Ino-chan didn't disturb us today. Surprising. And reminding me of the blonde who defeated me in Shingai. He said irritated. He's damn slippery and I still didn't have my rematch. Naruto-san defeated you in Shingai? Shingai asked surprised. When did that happen? It has been 1 year, 2 months, 6 days and 14 hours 20 minutes I lost to him. You were ill with cold on that day and I escaped my troublesome mother and Ino. He was lying on the grass watching clouds on the spot I found. Seems irritated and asked me to leave. Me being lazy challenged the troublesome blonde to a game of Shingai. The loser must leave the place without any complaint. He took 30 minutes to gain the entire board and other 15 minutes to capture my king. He said in same irritated tone. He then proceeded to kick me out of that place before I could demand a rematch. The next day he isn't there at all. I am still waiting for that rematch. And you couldn't find him again after that day. Interesting. But he sometimes hangs out with Kiba and I, helping us with our training and Taijutsu. You can come along with us. Hold on. Why does beating you in Shingai that important? Satsuki asked bewildered. Shingai simply smiled and took out 4 Shingai ban and immediately arranged the boards. Well 1 versus 4 match. If any of you guys manage to defeat Shika here will get unlimited meals at Yakiniku Q with +1 for a week. Shingai said calmly. And Shika if you manage to win all these girls I'll hide you from Ino-chan and Yoshino Oba-chan for a week. All the best and may the best player win. You are going down Nara. Satsuki said ominously. Yakumo grinned likewise with image of Ido shadowing her. Fu smiled sweetly while Mito bowed her head in sportiveness. Troublesome, Shikamaru groaned and the game started with Shingai setting on the timer. 25 minutes passed away, and the girls looked with an expression cross between awe and bewilderment. "Time, Chimjai." He drawled out. Chimjai simply grinned smugly and announced the results. Busan lost in 19 minutes 57 seconds, Kurama-san in 20 minutes 1 second, and Uchiha-san and Uzumaki-san tied at 23 minutes 59 seconds. You guys made a record. Shika usually defeats everyone in his age group in below 15 minutes, even his own clan members. Guess playing 4 of you at the same time might have been a bit of inconvenience. They and Naruto defeated Yu? Fu asked as the remaining girls are still in state of shock. Shikamaru glared at her and slept. But they heard a mumble which sounded suspiciously more like annihilated me. It stunned them all, but none more than Kushina, who's watching them. It is known fact that Naras have unmatched intellect, and Shikaku himself said that in time his son has potential to be more intelligent than himself. And her Neri-chan defeated him. She couldn't be more proud but felt sad that she and her husband didn't help him in any way. As if sensing her distress, Minato appeared in the room just in time to see Naruto walk inside the classroom. The bell rang immediately and he walked to the back of the class, which was empty and slept. The children immediately scrambled to the available seats, leaving an entire row for Naruto. A tall, pale-skinned, curly-haired boy was the only person except for Naruto who sat in that row. He wore a hooded gray jacket with black pants and is easily the tallest boy in the class. His entire body was covered and his eyes were hidden by sunglasses. Biba was thrown from Menma's side by Ami and Sakura, who occupied either side of him. He looked pissed off but sat beside Chimjai. The remaining fangirls, not wanting to incur the wrath of their founder and president, sat as close to Menma as possible. Before a fight for closest seats could escalate, Iruka entered the class, gently guiding a small girl with his hand. The class immediately quietened when he entered. Usually it takes Iruka-sensei at least few minutes and generous use of big head no jutsu to calm all of them down. But all the class were looking intently at the newcomer. Naruto woke up from his sleep to see what's so interesting. On seeing the girl, his face went blank, upper half shadowed by his hair, making it difficult to see his expression. She is small and pale, with short thick dark hair hanging around her chin, making her round white face look even rounder. She wore a cream-colored hooded jacket with a fire symbol on the upper sleeves and fur around the cuffs and hem with navy blue pants. She looked down with heavy blush on her face due to attention she's receiving from her classmates. "This is a new student. She will be in this class, as well as in your year," Iruka-sensei informed, gazing around at the class. There is a buzz of excitement around the classroom at this. Iruka waited patiently until the mutterings died down. Then he continued, squeezing the girl's shoulder. "Her name is Haika Hinata. Hinata-chan, please introduce yourself." She raised her head and everyone got a good look at the smaller girl. She's really cute with pale pupilless round eyes with hint of lavender in it, a cute button nose and pouty lips. All the boys except for Shikamaru, who's sleeping, and Naruto ogled at her while the fangirls glared at her. She meeped and put her head down, blushing madly. "Keep silent," Iruka shouted using big head no jutsu. "Ayano. My name is Hinata. I like zenzai, cinnamon buns, performing tea ceremonies and training with Kei Kurenai-sensei. I dislike sea crabs and shrimp in my sea clan. My hobbies are pea pressing flowers, making herbal medicines and cooking," she said, bowing down slightly. "Alright Hinata-chan," he said, looked around the classroom for an empty seat. Finding none except for one row, he sighed. Hoping that the kid would be kind to the shy girl. "Please sit next to Naruto-san over there. Naruto-san, please raise your hand. In my eyes you're a proud failure. When I look at you, I get an intense feeling in my heart, because you're not perfect, because you fail you have the strength to get back up, because I believe that is what true strength is." These were the words which played in his mind when he saw the chibi version of the girl he loved in his previous life. Out of all persons, she was the first person to acknowledge him and loved him for all his faults and inconsistencies. Bile rose up in his throat and eyes burned with unshed tears. To control his tears, he let his hair fall over his eyes and let no one see his face. Naruto knew that his parents are always watching him during the academy, and he let them. If they saw his tears, he didn't want to explain himself. He blamed himself for a long time that he's the reason why Hinata will never be a kunoichi. Hinata's ambition always have been merging of main and branch house. It's a mistake in Tsukuyomi which he should have realized immediately. So he made main house members erase the cursed seal, killed every member who has knowledge of it, and destroyed the records. He then proceeded to cut off the hands of every main house member who killed branch house family using it. He thought it'd be a gift for joining academy to her. But the unknown side effect is Hiashi preventing Hinata from attending the academy. It ended up killing her dream. He started sending gifts to the girl from last 2 years. He littered Kurenai-sensei's apartment with surveillance seals, just as he had done with all his friends' houses. Now seeing that she's allowed to attend the academy, he was really happy until he remembered the dried husk of the girl whose life was lost during Tsukuyomi. This time it'll never happen. He promised to himself. Even if it kills me, I'll make sure that each and every one here would live and be happy. I failed my Nindo due to my foolishness last time. The future I saw will never happen if I have any say on it. Drying his eyes with Kaiten chakra, Naruto raised his hand slowly, moving aside slightly so she could sit beside him. She shyly waved at him. All for his iciness and glacial attitude, he was weak when his friends are concerned after all. He smiled at her brightly, giving her a small grin, shocking all the class. Hinata blushed seeing his smile and hid her face in her jacket. "Hello, Haika-san. My name is Naruto. Welcome to our class. Nice to meet ya." He greeted her and resumed sleeping on the desk immediately. Iruka didn't know whether to be relieved that Naruto's not being his normal self and make the girl unhappy or angry that he's sleeping again. Giving it up as a lost cause, he pulled out the attendance register and started calling the attendance. "Aburam Shino," Iruka-sensei called out. "Present, sensei." Hinata turned towards the stoic boy and greeted him shyly while Naruto continued sleeping. "Akamichi Chimjai, present, sensei." "Akane Mitsuri, present, sensei." "And Ayasa." "Present, sensei." "Epuetsu." "Present, sensei." "Eso Tamako." "Present, sensei." The roll list went on till Ino's name is called. Naruto woke up then and passed a note from Yamanaka Benton to Iruka-sensei. Iruka read the letter and blushed slightly. He then started the class. It was a warm summer night and he was rudely awakened by heavy shaking of earth. With his limited sensory knowledge taught to him, he recognized that the earthquake was not normal, judging by the heavy chakra spike near the door of the compound. His father put on his battle armor before he could comprehend, raced out of their room just before Niji recognized the beginning of Genjutsu, which came down on him in form of illusory white feathers. Immediately activating his Byakugan, he dispelled the illusion and ran to the place following Fuchiknins. The entirety of Haika clan gathered around a single man who was leaning on a pillar in their dojo, carelessly eating something from the bowl he bought. Activating his Byakugan to get a clear look of his face, he was stunned at the chakra levels of the intruder. He saw many persons in Konoha with high chakra levels, and including Hokage-sama's wife, he never felt such chakra from a single person. They easily dwarfed all of their chakra levels. Greetings to the Haika clan. Sorry to wake you guys up at this late hour, but well, it's important and I'm slightly behind the schedule. So pardon me. What are you here for? His uncle asked in a frosty tone, veins bugling out as his Byakugan activated, and winced slightly on seeing that bright chakra of the intruder. But he didn't deactivate his bloodline and glared at him. Well, the intruder drawled out smoothly. There are few reasons I came here for, but main reason is to kill. He said, moving smoothly to the center of the room. Insolent bastard, get him. An old main house coot ordered the branch house and his father opened the fight. Niji moved closer trying to get a good look of the fight. Niji never saw a real fight between shinobi in his entire life. Sparring, yes, a real fight never. But he did know that the person fighting his clan outclassed everyone he has ever seen. It was like he was not even fighting, but his movements are graceful and looked like he was dancing to a tune only he could hear. He was like a stream, pliant but forced to be reckoned with. Every grid palm, which is his father's signature attack, was deflected to another combatant. The few branch house members used their limited ninjutsu tolerated by traditional old relics, used them in tandem with other members. But the man simply weaved between their attacks and laid devastating blows on his opponents. Weak fools. A main house member shouted, trying to use 8 trigrams. 128 palms on his exposed back only to have it swatted away like it's nothing. He danced in between the attacks of main house and branch house with uncanny ease. Rotation shattered under the fists of isn't that Ichiken stance. It is more flexible and less rigid, but it is Ichiken stance. But Niji was sure that he never saw any Ichiken technique in which chakra forms into large guardian lion-shaped shrouds. Gale palms past were dodged easily. Realizing that it is a fight they cannot win, he tried to get out for reinforcements. He wondered why no Anbu arrived in the compound as he ran out of the compound trying to alert the Anbu. He might hate the main house and his uncle as they tortured his father, but it didn't mean he wanted them dead. On arriving outside the compound, he saw a purple barrier in form of a cube over the entire compound, preventing the entry of the Anbu. He, for first time, felt helpless and unable to do anything while his clan is being slaughtered inside. "Child, what are you doing here?" a sharp voice asked, startling him out of his thoughts. "It's past your bedtime." Niji raised his head, hopefully that at least with one more shinobi, they might have little more chance of not dying, but his hope is crushed when he saw the man who was talking to him was the same one who was fighting his clan in the compound. Scurrying back in fear, he pressed himself to the wall and rolled himself into a ball, shivering in fear. He heard footsteps coming at him slowly and deliberately as if approaching a wounded animal. He raised his head slowly to look at his would-be killer. Instead of harming him, the man kneeled in front of him and slowly raised his hands. "I mean no harm to you or anyone, kid. Please relax," he said soothingly. "In fact, I'm here to set you free. What's your name?" "Niji. Niji Haikta." he replied. He saw the man's eyes widened a bit, but he composed himself. Your eyes must be exceptional, Niji-san, the man's clone spoke in an ethereal tone. I used an A rank Shinjutsu to make everyone less than Chiknin to make them asleep. Your eyes must be exceptional to resist it. Niji looked at him with fearful eyes but didn't say anything. Come on, Niji-san. He said, lifting him calmly, and carried him into the compound. Boss might have completed fighting your clan. They reached the dojo and the man stood outside without doing anything. Niji activated his Byakugan and looked through the door. He was shocked when he saw all main and branch house members were frozen in their place, unable to move a bit. They are glaring at him with hatred in their eyes. You bastard. His uncle seethed at the intruder, baring his teeth akin to a bloodhound. Niji never felt such killing intent from his uncle and other main house members. They always have good control over their emotions as members of Haikta clan, but in face of death, they lost every code of conduct. They looked akin to wild beasts, and Niji shivered. The person who bought him here popped with slight smoke. Who the hell are you? Harensa, one of the clan elders, seethed. How dare you disrespect our noble clan, you commoner. The intruder didn't say anything and dragged an ornate chair usually used by his uncle and sat on it, crossing his legs, closing his eyes. You came like a thief and tried to kill us. Even if you escape, the entire Leaf Village will be out for your blood. They will not rest until you are killed. He remained silent for a few minutes. Please stop talking. The voice that came out from his lips is soft, calm and controlled. But it chilled their spines and compelled them to obey. Let me tell you a story. He started. A story of a beautiful young girl, innocent and gentle. She gave to whoever asked, and her kindness was a light to many. But this young woman had a curse that she never deserved. The curse of a family, a noble clan, he said with great contempt, glaring at the entire clan. Cursed to be born few minutes after her sister. Cursed to be gentle, caring and shy. She loved everyone without any partiality, and that love was seen as weakness. In this clan they had an odd tradition. Anyone who is perceived weak was given a seal. A seal that protects. Here he kicked one of the elders on his ribs, causing him to cough out blood, their bloodline from being stolen. There is an unfortunate side effect for this seal. It's also a slave brand. A slave band capable of causing great pain to the recipient and possibly kill them. Even after being sealed, it didn't put a damper on her kindness. She willingly served her clan and decided to be a good medic to help others. Showed kindness to those who are oppressed. Until one day she came across a child. A street rat who is once nobility. The firstborn of the fourth Hokage, named Naruto Namikaze. Even though she lost her brother to Kyuubi, he said, closing his eyes as to reminiscence over his memories, a pleasant smile covering his features. Treated him like a child instead of monster he was supposed to carry. She'll be 18 this year if her life isn't cut short. On a day of celebration, 10th of October 2 years ago, she was murdered. I managed to neutralize all the perpetrators. Only one left. Sorry for the inconvenience. Well, before she died, she had a wish I want to fulfill. I need entire clan for that. So my apologies. He said, not sounding apologetic. There was a silence following his words until Harensa shouted, it is her fate to serve those superiors to herself. He shouted with crazed glee. You must be talking about that bitch Hitomi. She befriended that bastard demon son of the Hokage. Even after my warning, she helped him. I personally broke her and killed her. What are you going to do about it? You two will not escape your fate. You'll die. He shouted, grinning crazily with bloodlust. At least she made a good whore and died, elevating my stress. Her screams are particularly delicious. I was actually wondering what to do to catch the culprit. I got identity of all the other shinobi except yours. Harensa, isn't it? His voice smooth as silk. But there's pressure in the air that weighed on them. Killing intent, they recognized it. Cold, compressed fury coming out of him, large waves. Well, you actually made my job easier. The man rose from his seat and without any warning there were several replicas of him poofed into existence. He had the clones apply seals to each and every member of main house and cracked his knuckles. He then pulled Harensa by braid and dragged him to the center of the mud platform he raised without any hand seals. He pulled his katana out of its sheath, studying its gleam in the strong moonlight. You know, he said calmly. If there is one thing that I really hate, it is child abuse. Well, that and rape. Looking over at them, he let just a trickle of his killing intent through to make his point and to keep them quiet through his demonstration. Can't say murder as what I've already committed many. Besides, we are shinobi. It's basically on our resume. Now this is just a demonstration and we got a subject who confessed raping a minor and my friend. Watch, he said with murder in his tone. Watch closely the penalty you'll pay if my friend's final wish is unfulfilled. With a hand seal he activated the seal on the man's body. Initially nothing happened, but suddenly Harensa started screaming to the point his voice got hoarse. The intruder waited for few seconds and the formal kimono Harensa wore was completely stained with dripping blood. A clone appeared next to Neji, closing his eyes and used a seal to stop using his bloodline. The entirety of Hyuga clan activated their Byakugan. They saw a layer of skin being peeled off by sharp wind blades. The girl was my first and only friend. You along with 20 shinobis above Chunin level brutally raped her, bludgeoned her with furniture after closing the tenketsu at her throat, preventing her from crying. He said with tears falling down, his first facial emotion since he entered the compound. Sake bottles were shattered on her head for consorting with Monster Brat. Stripped, humiliated and tortured as her friend begged from sidelines not to punish her for his sins. Sins he never knew. Forced to watch her friend being lit up after playing Nail the Fox with sake bottles, helpless, unable to do anything. His voice raw with emotion. After her friend lost consciousness, salt was applied on her wounds. Got bored and well, you were the one who activated the cage bird seal and ended her life. Then discarded her body and went on to pay for all your companions' bill to celebrate. You are the one who dragged my friend into the bar for that night's festivities. She was 16 that time and you killed her. He said, raising his hands which have a noticeable tremor in it, held her eye into his hands and cried, unable to do anything. He closed his eyes and curled his hands into tight fists, nails drawing blood as they digged into his skin. Using another hand seal he regenerated the skin back. So then is this my judgment? Horensa asked, glaring at the man after taking deep breaths. Why would you even care? We taught that demon brat a lesson. She's just a collateral damage. The intruder shook his head and scoffed. It's not judgment, Horensa-san. It's revenge. My small revenge. I actually came here with intention to kill you, and that would be a judgment. But death is a mercy to a bastard like you. He snarled out, baring his teeth. With one swing of his katana, Horensa's fingers were cut off as he let out a blood-curdling scream. The katana in the intruder's hand turned deep orange, signaling use of Kaiten. He then cauterized the wounds with it. He then drew another seal on his body and activated it. Initially there is no reaction, but there's suddenly a smell akin to rotting corpse came from him as he writhed in pain. There, he said, gleefully, showing patch of skin which seemed to be infected by worms underneath his skin. Within 6 months, these worms would make your flesh so rotten that not even a dog would be able to stand 10 feet near you. Your muscles, tendons and ligaments will hyper-regenerate and will turn into bone. You'll spend the last year of your life in hell, as those worms will eat each and every part of your living body. And you'll feel the helplessness of my friend as you feel your body destroyed inside out. By the time you die, on seeing your body even your wife will be disgusted. Unable to move, unable to even clean your ass, your body will be so rotten that no living creature will be able to stand few feet near you without puking. Cysts will form in your stomach causing abdominal pains, and every time you shit, blood oozes out. No person in this world will be able to save you, and you'll die a death that will be whispered in repulsion. I internalized the seal. And be removed by any seal master and you can't kill yourself. Hyper-regeneration will prevent you from dying, and you'll prolong your suffering. The main house members turned green at gills, almost ready to vomit at the words of the intruder. They glared at him heatedly, but fear in their eyes is clear as crystal. Now, he said dramatically, to the next order of business. Above the heads of 6 out of 70 members of main house, a dark red flames flickered into existence with Hiashi among them. So you guys are the seal masters of this dreaded clan, huh? He gagged all of them and walked towards the eldest one among them. Now let's keep it simple. I'll ask you a question and you will answer me. He said, severing off the pinky finger. Now this is just a small demo what I'll do if you do not play by my terms. He said, looking into his eyes, ignoring the pain in his prisoner's eyes. Answer only the question you've been asked, nothing more and nothing less. If one word, just one other word comes out of your mouth, another finger will be cut off. If it's a lie, I'll get creative. Trust me, you don't want that. Am I clear? He said, pulling out the gag. The elder didn't say anything, and the man unsheathed the katana and cut off his thumb. I asked, am I clear? Yes. He croaked out, biting his lip to prevent screaming from pain. But he said, his tone getting softer. You're learning. Now, where do you keep the scrolls for caged bird seal? Even if it kills me, I'll never reveal clan secrets out arg. He screamed, clutching his bloody hand as other finger was severed. The man reinserted the gag. Now that's not my answer, is it? 6 clones popped into existence and they stood before the gagged members. Let's try again. And if you don't answer, he trailed off, leaving them to their own imaginations. He gave each of them a paper and pen. Write them on. Where are the scrolls for the caged bird seals present? He asked. All 6 of them started writing. After a minute they handed them to the clones, who looked it over. A snap of finger later, the red flame above their heads covered their body and slight color change is seen. Above 3 of them the red was partially covered by green. Hiashi's and other 2 elders remained red. Another hand seal made all their bodies writhe in agony on the floor. Hiashi felt worse than 1,000 white-hot knives boring into the skin. His bones were on fire and his muscles felt like molten steel has been poured over them. He felt like his head is splitting and begged for unconsciousness. The intruder kept it up for 5 minutes which, to the victims, seemed like few and let it off. "Now I did tell that if you try to lie I'll get creative," he said, cracking his knuckles. "Well, I am in a really bad mood and don't have much time to waste. So brace yourselves," he said, touching the heads of the seal masters. This time the pain was 1,000 times worse as they felt information being forcibly stripped from their minds. To make sure, he pulled memories from all members of main house. Creating few hundred clones, he gave orders to destroy the scrolls. Now he turned towards the seal masters. "You are to remove the caged bird seal from each and every branch member from children to elders." "It is impossible," Hiashi growled out through gritted teeth. "The caged bird seal can be only removed by death of a recipient. Unless you want us to kill all the branch house there's nothing we can do." The intruder rubbed his temples and reactivated the seal. This time, Hiashi was lifted off his feet. He writhed through the air like a drowning man, thrashing and howling in pain, and then, with a crunch and a shattering of glass, he smashed into the front of a bookcase and crumpled on the floor with heavy muscle spasms, just on the brink of unconsciousness. He was splashed with ice-cold water and was brought back to consciousness. "Hiashi-san. Didn't I tell you that lying to me was not advised?" he said, voice turning softer, icy and deadly. "Or did you peg me for a fool?" 137 years, 4 months, 26 days from this day. Hiroha Haika, the then clan head, was killed by a Kagaya shinobi just after the formation of Konoha and has no children of his own. His younger brother Haedo, a branch house member, got his caged bird seal removed and Yamanakas were hired to remove the memories of branch house, that their clan head was one of them. It also helped that both of them look alike. He announced to the stunned clan. "You bastard." A main house member, who could be easily over 100 years, shouted. "It is one of the clan's most dangerous secrets. It is forbidden." The man simply shrugged, and Niji, for first time in his life, gained hope that he and his father would be free from servitude. But none of the seal masters except for the old elder who got his fingers severed knew about the seal. He released them from the paralysis seal. "Well then," he said, his fingers lightening with chakra. "I'll enter the knowledge of how to remove that seal into your heads. No funny business. I'll give 4 clones for each of the main house too if they are to be freed. Their freedom should be death." A main house member with crazed glee in his eyes shouted, his hands curling into hand seal required to activate the caged bird. A few of the main house members followed suit only to get their both hands chopped at the wrist by the clones of the intruder. "Oversee the unsealing process," he continued as if he isn't interrupted at all. "If you tried to harm them anyway, well, you saw the demonstration of my clones. I'll make it look like a child play," he said, pressing the chakra-laced fingers to their head. At those words there's appearance of 300 clones. The main house members tried to subdue them but were easily overpowered and are made to kneel with katana at their throats. The remaining clones formed a diamond formation around the seal masters and before dawn the entire caged seals were unsealed. Niji was promptly knocked out and was laid in his bed when the seal masters arrived. The intruder is said to have branded a seal on the tongues of the seal masters, which prevented them from teaching the caged bird to anyone. He also made few branch house members shave off the hair of main branch members. He also killed few members before he left the compound. Lorenzo was thrown out of the compound after 3 months after the Byakugan was removed from his eye sockets. The branch house members tried to kill him, but he recovered from any poison, wound and anything. But every second was hell for him. His muscles, ligament and tendons started converting into bone, making his every motion torturous. He cannot be killed, but every attempt on his life made his condition more and more worse that he begged for his death. No medic in Konoha, including Tsunade Senju, was unable to help him in any way. Kushina Uzumaki said that she could remove the internalized seal, but needed the blood that was mixed in sealing ink. After 2 months the stench became so horrifying that no one could stand at 50 feet near him. He was thrown out of Konoha a month later. Few months passed and in the month of October an Uchiha came to their compound, saying that they found his body. The person sent to retrieve his body came back looking green and they couldn't touch their food for 2 days, unable to contain their nausea. The clan, in Niji's opinion, changed for the best. The once main house tried to force the branch members by various means of extortion, fights etc., but ultimately failed as for each member of main house, there are at least 5 branch house members. They finally got off their high horses when all the branch members fought them and brought all the main house to their knees. Few elders were completely paralyzed and they finally understood their days as royals have ended. Hiashi was still left the clan head as he is the only one who has full knowledge of politics. Many of the main house were turned to police and were still held in incarceration for raping few branch house women when they're in power. The man killed only the bastards who killed using the caged bird. Shaking off the thoughts, he immediately brushed his teeth and made himself scrambled eggs to eat. He wore a beige-colored shirt, a dull blue shirt beneath that, and mesh armor beneath that, and paired them with dark brown shorts, blue shinobi sandals, and wrapped bandages around his right arm, chest, and right leg. Pulling his hair back into a ponytail, he tied his forehead protector around his neck and raced to training ground 5. One of his teammates was waiting for him calmly, and Niji saw that he's 15 minutes early. "Good morning, Niji-chan." The bluish-gray-haired girl shouted, grinning at him like a loon. She wore a single robin egg blue-colored off-the-shoulders garment that extended to halfway down her thighs, with cream-colored spandex leggings and black combat boots. She had oval-shaped face with obsidian almond-shaped eyes, small nose and thin lips. She has her hair cropped in pixie cut. Shin-san, Niji called her exasperatedly. "Please tone down. It's 4:45 in the morning and people will be still sleeping, and don't call me Niji-chan." Few seconds later a twin loud shouts of Yawith were heard, making Niji release a sigh and raised his hands to the sky, as if asking what had he done to deserve such idiotic teammates, while Shin laughed boisterously from the sidelines. "Ah, Niji-chan. When I first saw you at the academy I thought you are a pretty girl. I mean, which boy has such beautiful, expressive eyes, delicate features and such shiny, well-maintained long hair?" She snickered at the growing tick mark over his forehead. "Even I am jealous of our hair, Haim-chan." The ground was filled with boisterous laughter and death threats for next few minutes. "Yosh. My youthful students." A man with shiny bowl-cut hair, dark brown sharp eyes, oval-shaped face with defined jawline shouted at them. He had remarkably thick eyebrows, sharp nose and shiny teeth. He wore a green spandex jumpsuit, orange striped leg warmers, and the standard Konoha flak jacket, which he left unzipped. His red forehead protector is worn around his waist like a belt. "Today we are not training as I've invited my part-time student to test his skills against genin." He then separated the two genin who were tangled up as a mess of limbs, one grinning while blowing a raspberry and other scowling at the first one. "Part-time student, Guy-sensei?" A boy with same bowl-cut hair and ridiculously large eyebrows asked, grinning slightly. He had heart-shaped face, round black eyes, small nose and thin lips. He wore a white, short-sleeved kimono shirt with a martial arts belt and dark pants with orange striped leg warmers and blue shinobi sandals. "Is he strong?" he asked, excited about fighting a powerful opponent. "He is still an academy student, Lee. But his flames of youth burn so brightly that they rival my own," he proclaimed, giving a nice guy pose a thumbs up, wink, and winning smile complete with the proverbial ping. "What is this part-time student business about, Guy-san?" A beautiful woman stepped out into the clearing, followed by a girl. She has beautiful heart-shaped face, warm hooded brown eyes and pouty lips covered with bright red lipstick. She wore a sleeveless and collared black reprimand mesh armor underneath bandages, fingerless gloves, cargo pants with standard issue shinobi black sandals. "You said he's an academy student, right? Why are you pitting an academy student against genin even though they are green ones?" she questioned, scowling at the eccentric man. "And this team is cream of the crop from this year." "Ah, Gao-san. It is the responsibility as Junin-sensei to kindle the flames of youth of the leaves of great tree," he said, grinning at her brightly. "Don't worry about my adorable student. He can handle himself well. Now my adorable youthful genin," he called them, "he will be here around 6:15. So go through stretches and prepare for the fight. And Lee, you can remove those weights for this fight." The Ten-chan, Shin called her girl teammate in between their stretches. The bun-haired girl was one who Shin could call a real and first friend and rival. She had expressive leaf-shaped brown eyes, heart-shaped face, small nose and pouty lips. She wore a blue sleeveless kipao-style blouse with red sleeve trimmings and yellow fastening buttons and dark green pants. The pouch is adjusted to her thigh and wore a standard forehead protector with blue sandals. "How do you think the part-time student of Guy-sensei looks like?" "I mean, he said that the boy is as youthful as himself," she made air quotes. "I bet that he too wears spandex, has hair in bowl cut, and is loud as our sensei." Tenten giggled at her teammate's words. Shin, despite her boisterous personality, thankfully, was not a fangirl. Initially at the academy both of them are hardcore rivals for top kunoichi, easily outstripping the rest of the kunoichi by miles. The competition between them would have turned sour if not for the fangirls. Tenten and Shin both lost their friends during second year at the academy, and they bonded over their mutual dislike over the fangirls. From then they worked hard to prove that kunoichis are as good as shinobi. "I think we would have not missed an eccentric boy in the academy, Shin-chan. But who knows? And how's your little brother, Sai, isn't it?" she asked. "Last time I saw he's such a cutie. Is he still in the orphanage?" "Yes, Ten-chan. He's still in the orphanage. I was hoping to get him out when I saved enough money. He's second strongest shinobi in his class and is ranked 7th overall. He's still pouting at getting beaten by kunoichis. Our junior class is said to have 5 really good kunoichis who are dubbed as Ice Queens," she whispered enthusiastically. Sai said that a new girl was admitted by special permission from the Hokage and was said to be really good at Taijutsu and Jinjutsu. "That must be Hinata." Niji said proudly from their back. She's my cousin. My stuck-up uncle's disowned daughter. She has been fine then. Only decent member of one's main house. Rest of them are devious ones. Really Niji-chan? Is she your cousin? Shin asked bouncing up and down. Both the Kunoichis loved learning about upcoming Kunoichis and powerful ones before them. Can we meet her please she begged both the Kunoichis giving him puppy eyes. I'm sorry. You can meet her at the academy or outside, but I can't introduce you guys. She lives with some Jinin named Kuranaiki after my uncle disowned her. She's really shy girl. Cute, but shy. Yosh. There he comes. Guy shouted and the team saw a blonde-haired kid coming towards them. Each of them observed the newcomer. The boy moved in liquid-like, a smooth boneless stroll that allowed a slow slide in their direction. Hands in pockets, head held low, shoulders slumped, it made an unnoticeable picture. Feet seemed to wander aimlessly, but always managed to end up where their owner intends to be. It's a walk that the most of the people dismisses without second thought. Niji was not most of the people. He saw a person walk with same carelessness once in his life, and he freed him from his servitude. No one walks with that much carelessness unless they mean to. It's a carelessness that hides a truth. He saw Tenten, Lee, Shin and Helikgao sensei herself dismissing the boy as not a threat. They are wrong. The boy approaching them is a predator. A person accustomed to be at the top of food chain and confident enough to fight all the members present and walk out alive. He is nearly up there with their sensei, probably just below him. This is a person he cannot afford to underestimate. He instantly tensed, anticipating a fight, noticing that Guy sensei gave him a smile and appreciation from their backs. Yosh. My youthful students. This is Naruto. Remember our team introductions. Please introduce yourselves. He shouted giving them a good guy pose. I'll go first. I am Mido Guy, Konoha's sublime green beast of prey. My hobbies are pottery and gardening. I like training youthful students to reach their full potential and hate unyouthful persons. My dream is to fight my eternal rival without any handicaps and win. Ikao sighed lightly and spoke up. My name is Ikao Yazuki. My hobbies are stargazing and watching moon. I like calm persons and hate loud ones and perverts. Here she threw a dirty look at Guy. Dreams are to get married and settle down peacefully. I'm Niji Haikta. My hobbies include meditation and gardening. I like herring soba and my father. I once disliked main house of my clan, but now just obnoxious people. He got far away look as he remembered a face which set him free. My dream is to fight and get acknowledged by a certain man and make my father proud and I will be the greatest master in gentle fist, better than the fossils of once main house. All of them except Naruto and Guy looked at him confused. And Guy saw Naruto frowning slightly. Yosh. My name is Rock Lee, Konoha's beautiful green wild beast. I like medium spicy curry rice and curry pilaf and hate unyouthful people. My hobby is to train using Guy sensei's training regime. I will become the strongest man in the world without use of chakra. Aspiring to jutsu specialist. The frown grew deeper. My name is Tenten. I like Chinese food and sesame dumplings. I hate arrogant people and those who look down on Kunoichis. My hobbies are collecting weapons and fortune-telling. My dream is to become a legendary Kunoichi on likes of Uzumaki Kushina, Tsunade Senju etc. Now he looked irritated. I am an aspiring weapon specialist. I'm Shin. My hobbies are training and painting with my brother. I like soba noodles and barbecue. I hate arrogant people and those who look down on Kunoichis. I will become a Kinjutsu master better than the likes of Amayuri Ringo, the only female in the 7 swordsmen of the mist. They turned to the blonde-haired boy who's now outright scowling at them. He compassed himself and spoke my name is Naruto. I like training. Hobbies are gardening. I dislike few people. Dreams for future no dreams. He said calmly. Now please can any one of you recite Rule 7 of Shinobi Handbook? The 4 genins looked at each other and Niji spoke up. Urame Shinobi should never reveal any information to any potential enemy. Why are you asking this Naruto-san? I wouldn't have asked that if you didn't fail the test set before you by Guy sensei. He said his voice turning cold and sharp when they started glaring at him. Aspiring gentle fist specialist, aspiring weapon specialist, aspiring Kinjutsu specialist, aspiring Taijutsu specialist. It won't be a problem if you are a Takubetsu Jinin or higher. The specializations to them mean that they perform best in that field but have backups. But as a Genin or a Chinin it means they knew only that and nothing else. Why on earth did you say your favorite foods? It's a surefire way for an assassin to kill you using food. So he said calmly you failed the test. Yes, saying those might have been acceptable during Genin team introduction. They are the team you will fight with and lean on in near future. You have to trust them with your lives after all. But I'm here as an enemy. To fight you guys. And you gave away your strengths on a silver platter. The team looked down in shame for a moment when his voice cracked like a whip. And for log's sake don't show weakness in front of a potential enemy. He'll exploit it for sure. So my youthful students. Guy said in serious voice. This is a lesson well taught to you by your junior. Never forget it. Ikka looked stunned but composed herself. Now Naruto said, taking off his cream-colored hoodie, leaving him in white t-shirt with spiral symbol on it and loose cargo pants. The training is simple. All 4 of you will come at me once with intent to kill. The test ends when all of you surrender, knocked out, or if you survive past the time limit. All of you win if one of you satisfy condition. Niji's challenge is to close at least one of my tenketsu, Lee must land a solid hit on me, Tenten's challenge is to hit me at least once, and Shin is to cut me anywhere except my hair. Yes, even clothes are considered. Best of all, I'll use only 3C ranked or below techniques, Academy 3 and Taijutsu to win. He smirked at them challengingly. To each person, if you guys win, I'll teach a B rank technique, and if you lose, well, you owe me a favor. Time limit is 15 minutes. If you survive until then, you'll win. Before Ikka could say anything, Guy picked her up and jumped to the nearby tree as his students are left frothing at their mouths. Is he insane? Ikka shouted. He is just an academy student, and our students are known to be the best of the best among the genins, even if they graduated few months ago. They are enough capable to fight with both of us, even when we are fighting at high Chunin level. They'll slaughter him. Relax, Nico-chan. Guy said calmly, smiling at her. They'll not injure him. And Naruto said that he'll teach them a B rank, right? I don't know anything above C rank ninjutsu and jinjutsu. And they kid trained with Sandaime-sama. Our students and him will gain something out of this experience. Ikka scowled but simply nodded. How dare you underestimate us, you little shit, Tenten growled out with Lee and Shin scowling at him. Niji activated his Byakugan and all of them entered into their respective stances. Did you guys say something? He said, slumping his shoulders, and took out an orange book with title Icha Paradise on it. Tenten, Shin and Ikka growled on seeing it. Lee, however, what the hell are you doing? Lee-senpai. Please keep your tone down. He said, not even looking at them. People are sleeping. And this is an interesting book. Reached a particularly good part. He giggled reading the book. How unyouthful. Dynamic entry. Lee shouted, launching at him at low Chunin speed with a high kick. Just a microsecond before the foot made contact, the boy simply stepped sidewards and allowed Lee to overshoot and backhanded him on his shoulder. The combined momentum of Lee's dynamic entry and the backhand caused him to bounce on the ground 4 times before adjusting himself and skidded on the ground. All this time he never took his eyes off the damned book. The other genins are instantly wary. Tenten pulled out her scrolls and Shin pulled out her katana. Niji immediately fell into standard stance of Jiken and Ikka looked at them carefully. Lee bounced back from the attack and immediately sent a flurry of punches towards the blonde-haired boy, which he dodged without taking his eyes off the book. Tenten used her accuracy to try and hit him, but Naruto simply plucked them out of air. Lee saw an opening in his guard and tried to kick him, only to get his leg caught and thrown towards his team. Immediately they assumed semicircle formation. Lesson 1. Taijutsu. He said calmly. And before they could even comprehend, he reappeared into their midst. Proving their reflexes, all 4 of them attacked him immediately. Niji covered his hands with chakra and attacked him ferociously. Lee pulled of his leg warmers and threw flurry of high and low kicks. Shin slashed at him using chakra to form wind blades, and Tenten backflipped and took out a kusarigama and attacked him. Konoha Senk. Lee shouted, jumping in the air to deliver a roundhouse kick, and Naruto sidestepped the attack, dodging easily, but Lee's didn't get discouraged and suddenly jumped back. You are in the range of my divination. Niji said softly. Jiken. Haki Sanjkni Shm. Gentle fist. 8 trigrams 32 palms, 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms. He shouted, speed of his attack increasing exponentially with time. But Naruto simply deflected all his attacks, batting them off before kicking Niji on his chest, sending him towards Lee. A quick seal-less Korami preventing him from getting ensnared by Tenten's kusarigama and wind blade in his direction. They both looked wearily, trying to find the blue-eyed academy student. According to what Sai said, Naruto was just your run-on-mel shinobi, just average in everything. Their information is wrong. Either it's not the same Naruto his brother is speaking about, or he's hiding his skills in the academy. Till now he didn't use any of the ninjutsus except for Korami, and yet was overpowering them like it's nothing, and damn if it didn't hurt their pride. The 4 of them stood back to back, not to give the kid any chances. Lee pulled out a pair of tonfas out, Tenten pulled out 2 scrolls and tensed her muscles in preparation. Niji unsealed a scroll which released large amount of water. Shin held her katana, channeling lot of chakra into it that it resembled blue flames. The boy reappeared in the field with the book back in his hand. With Niji facing him, all the others dispersed in rhombus formation with Naruto in the center. How the hell is he still an academy student? Ikka shouted at the eccentric man who is eating yakitori. Dear Log, when did he get the fried chicken without alerting her? That is easily the level of Takubetsu Jimnin. I did say that he can youthfully handle himself well, didn't I, Ikka-san? Guy said munching on piece of chicken. The only reason he's not an elite Junin is because Sandaime Sama wanted him to form bonds with rest of his peers. He was worried about the kid's mind, and with damn good reason. So Naruto was still in the academy. And he's holding back. Age Junin. At this age. Ikgao hissed out with clear disbelief in her voice. Are you pulling my leg, Guy-san? At age of 20, she's still a green Junin and was given a field promotion recently. Even now few of the elite Junins didn't accept her as a Junin completely. Mido Guy is not just an elite Junin, he is tied with Orochimaru and Jiraiya of Sannin for the third most powerful shinobi in Konoha. For him to give praise to this boy who's not even out of the academy, it's humbling. Don't think short of yourself, Ikga-san. Naruto to reach the point he's at now was not because of being a prodigy like my eternal rival. The person standing there is the result of blood, sweat and tears. Before he turns 18 he'll be able to fight both our Sandaime Sama and Yondaime Sama together and win. That's how youthfully he trains. It brings tears to my eyes to see a ninja pushing himself at the springtime of youth, but still a Junin. Takubetsu Junin I can accept but Junin. It's ridiculous.